position in this world. But I can understand these are very simple philosophical claims. The law of karma, for every action, there's a reaction. It's simple. So it doesn't take a lot of science to understand, like every single, within science even, for every action, there's a reaction.
Right, but that's not a moral statement. That's just a statement of
physics, like
right? Like
simple. It's like
if
that.
I, let go of my phone right now, gravity will pull it towards the floor. There's nothing moral about that.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
But also if I go out into the street and I kick the next dog that I see, where's the evidence that a god is going to punish me for doing that? I mean, I wouldn't do that anyway. I think it's a horrible thing to do to a dog. But why should I be afraid that I'll be punished for that?
It's not punishment or reward. It's a consequence. So for every action, there's a reaction. And basically, if I hate others and I kick them, like you were saying, then I'm gonna suffer the same thing. It's a consequence.
I just don't believe that. I mean, people get away with. Well, the problem is that we have so much evidence to the contrary. Right?
Okay,
like we have examples of people who do what most of us would consider to be horrible things, and things that I consider to be horrible things, and they more or less get away with it. And there's no real justice visited upon them.
When they go to hell, when they go to hell, there's justice is applied.
Well, that's what someone might believe, but I just don't think that that's real. I think we only really know that this right here, right now, is real, and that if we want justice, we have to make sure that it happens here, now. We can't just wait. We just can't wait for some god that no one can prove is real to step in and give us justice. We actually have to make it happen ourselves. Like we can't just let like pastors who, SA children get away with it and say, "Oh, it's okay. In the end, God will take care of them. He'll send them to hell, and they'll get their punishment there." Because we have no good reason to believe that will actually happen, right? Like, if we want justice, we have to make it happen here now.
But we practically see, as hard as we can try to do that, it's not possible. We practically see it's literally impossible to have perfect justice in this realm.
I agree.
So
very difficult.
So basically, you have to, if you go that route that we cannot prove it and there's never justice, then we go into this mood of godlessness and there's no justice, and we just go like Mad Max kind of situation.
Well, I think that's what we actually see in front of us, is we see that over the course of time, justice systems have been, carrying out whatever form of justice they've been able to, and justice systems have been adjusting over the course of time in accordance with what the majority more or less have wanted, and what the people's representatives in government have helped to enshrine. That's essentially what I think we actually have.
Yeah, we do have.
It's just it looks more refined these days than it did,
it's quite wild. I agree. So according to Vedic knowledge, when somebody commits sinful activities, this is not immediate. The consequence is not immediate. It is in the form of like a seed, for example. If I rob a bank now, in this moment, doesn't mean I'm going to jail at the same moment. I'm not experiencing the consequence immediately. There's a delay. And so because of that delay, sometimes we see somebody robbing a bank doesn't get punished, but it just means there's a delay. And so
well, no, that's what you believe.
Correct.
That doesn't mean that that's what's going to happen.
Yes, I'm explaining Vedic perspective.
Right. Like, do you think that that's wise though? Like, should we just leave it up to whichever god may or may not be real, or should we here and now pursue justice?
Both. There has to be justice here and now, and at the same time understand that is perfect justice is impossible in this world, but God can do that. We can't do it.
You believe. Okay, right, got it.
Yeah.
Despite the fact there's not evidence that
Correct.
happens. It's just a
Because if I
belief.
don't believe that, then the whole thing is just random, and then I can just go randomly hurting others, and it's just wild, you know.
Well, that's not
Uh,
true because I don't believe the things that you do, and I don't go around randomly hurting people.
it leads to
I
that.
use my empathy and my
It
capacity
leads
for
to that.
reason to figure out
Mhm.
what it is that I think I want to see in the world, and then I go and exemplify that as best I can. And if someone else is crossing the lines that I don't think we should cross in an egregious way, I do what I can to do something about it, right? Like, and I don't believe any of the things that you do about vetting
Yeah,
scripture. I still
correct.
do those things. So it's
That's
right
good.
here. I'm evidence that you don't need to believe the things that you believe in order to
Yeah,
have a
yeah.
moral compass and to pursue justice.
I can see that. It's just I find it harder to find a foundation, but it is possible. Like I mean, within the Vedic understanding, there's places for atheists. It's like a heaven for atheists. It is. There's such a place.
I mean, do you have evidence that it exists?
No, no, I don't have a UFO and all this to travel the universe. I can't
Okay,
do that.
but you think it's a physical place that I'll be
Oh yeah,
transported to?
yeah. For those, it's like pretty much like for those who are good persons but who don't believe in God, they go to that place. They don't want to accept or they reject God, but they're good. They're ethical. They respect others.
What do you
They
believe
just
it's
don't.
like? Sorry.
They just don't believe in God or serving God or anything like that.
Sure.
And so
What do
that
you believe
place is.
it's? Sorry, I thought you might have finished.
It's okay. You want me to describe that place or what?
Yeah. What do you think that might be like?
Oh, it's very beautiful place. It says it is described with many lakes and gardens, beautiful birds and animals, fruit trees. Everybody is happy in family life.
So
There's
I've
just no God. There's
so
no
I've got
God.
nothing to worry about.
Uh, there's only the only problem left in that place is death. No, nobody can escape death in that place.
I mean,
But
so it's just like this again, but nicer.
without disease, without old age, it's nicer. Yeah,
So
much nicer.
how do you lose your life there if there's no disease or
It's
old
just
age?
time. It's just time. There's a limit, a time limit, how much you are meant to enjoy, and then just like in hell, hell is not eternal. There's a certain time frame of punishment. Finish the credit, and come back to standard Earth.
Okay. And again, no evidence that it's real. It's just what
Oh, of course,
a Vedic
it's Vedic
text
knowledge.
claims.
Correct.
Okay. Well, there you go. I mean, I guess I got nothing to fear there either. What do you know?
Yeah, your hell should not be used for making people afraid and all this stuff. Yeah, it's reincarnation. Yeah, that's Vedic. Yeah, it's, using hell to force someone to follow a religion is a very immoral use of religion. Uh,
I tend to agree.
yeah, yeah,
To be fair, I mean, if it does exist, I think that it'd probably be better to be aware of it, right?
correct. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And unfortunately, we have no good reason to believe that it does, which is frustrating, right?
Well, to me, it is quite clear, but I cannot prove it.
So,
Near-death
in what way is it
experiences.
clear then?
The near-death experiences is probably the closest because there's I don't know there's a YouTube channel that's quite nice that has a bunch of near-death experiences, and there's out of I don't know 1 out of 3 near-death experiences describe going to hell, and the other ones they say I see the light and peace and all this,
I'd
and
say that
so
honestly, that sounds about right though, because roughly half the population is religious, so they're kind of already psychologically primed to hallucinate an
no,
afterlife.
but it's funny because in that channel, many that are Christians that they say. I'm Christian and I thought I was going to heaven, and then when they had the near-death experience, they actually went to hell, although they
Yeah,
were
but
believers and all this stuff. So
right,
it's
but
not.
that's the thing is like, lots of Christians are primed. I mean, if you're going to refer to Christians specifically, lots of Christians are primed to fear hell, right? So that's on their mind. They have a near-death
Oh, I
experience.
see.
For many of them, psychologically speaking, they're more likely
Yeah.
to hallucinate going to hell, right? It's kind of like, if you, I'll give you an example. Like when I was younger, I used to have sleep paralysis, right? My sleep paralysis episodes tended to be influenced by whatever movie I just watched, right? Like I once watched Shutter Island. I don't know if you've watched Shutter Island before. It's one of my favorites. It's so good. But there's a scene in it in which the main character is walking through a concentration camp and witnessing piles of frozen Jewish bodies, right? And when I watched that movie, first time I watched that movie, I was quite young. I was like 16 or something, and it freaked me out, right? And that night, my sleep paralysis episode consisted of me waking up, not being able to move in my bed, and essentially hallucinating that I was frozen in a pile of dead bodies, right? All my doona, like my blankets and my pillow, they were all frozen bodies as well. I was just trapped in this pile of frozen dead bodies. You've got no reasons to believe that I was actually frozen in a pile of dead bodies. This is something that the brain does when it's freaked out, right? Sleep paralysis is, informed by what it is we experience in our waking consciousness. So like if a Christian has a near-death experience, the likelihood of them experiencing what they think hell is like, and that's pretty high because that's what their brain has been taught to expect.
Yeah, there's that tendency. I agree. Although there's a big difference with a near-death experience versus just a hallucination, that they are clinically dead. That clinically they're declared dead.
That's fine. I mean,
it's finished, and so it's different from a dream that is the body still running and all that. It's a different example. It's not in the same category because of that. It makes it a little.
It's not in quite the same category, no.
Yeah.
But it's in a similar category in the sense that we can't demonstrate that the experience occurred outside or independent of the brain, right? Like the brain, as far as we can determine. No, I understand that, but we still understand that people who had. I understand that, but we also understand that brain activity persists even after the heart stops. You understand? Like there's still residual biochemical neuroelectrical activity, and you also can't determine whether or not that particular hallucination occurred just before the clinical death or just after the revival. So again, we cannot determine that this experience was generated independently of the brain.
The thing is, there's many very peculiar events at that time for those who narrate near-death experiences, like the amount of time they were in the near-death experience. They can, first of all, they can describe their experience many times. It's not just like a faint dream. They can very vividly remember it.
I could do the same thing with my sleep paralysis.
Yes, and then also on top of that, the time that they experience, the amount of time they went through that experience sometimes is greater than the amount of time of the clinical death.
Well, yeah, so time dilation is common.
Time bends and stuff.
Time dilation is common in altered states of consciousness, though, right? Like it got to the point where I started measuring my sleep paralysis episodes, right? Because they were getting fairly frequent.
And one thing I find
felt like hours passing was ostensibly 2 or 3 minutes. That doesn't mean that I was accessing some other realm. It's just the part of the brain that's responsible for keeping track of time or for generating a sense of how much time has passed. It's not necessarily active at the same time as the part of the brain that is interpreting sensory input, right? Like, I don't know how much you know about sleep paralysis, but the part of the brain that's responsible for interpreting sensory input, it lights up, it fires up, right? It's activated. whereas the part of the brain that's responsible for motor coordination, so moving the body, that remains inactive. And so the part of your brain responsible for trying to make sense of the sensory input, it freaks out and you just go into basically panic mode, despite being unable to do anything about it with your body. You can't get up and run away. You can't pull your blankets over your head. You can't reach over and turn the light on. That part of your brain is not awake. Right? Different parts of the human brain are responsible for different phenomenon. The part of your brain that's responsible for being able to tell how long you've been dreaming for or experiencing anything for, that part, even from, people with certain conditions experience time distortion, like people with ADHD, right? People with ASD. If you're high on certain drugs, I mean, if you're doing breath work, right? Like you can induce the sensation of time dilation. The part of your brain that's responsible for that, that's what does that. Like that someone having a near-death experience and feeling like they were dead for years, that doesn't mean that they were. That's just what their brain was under the influence, under the impression of. But the human brain gets things wrong all the time.
Yes.
So there are rational explanations for these things, We don't have to jump to supernatural explanations.
That's why I think researching near-death experiences is a good exercise, because it reveals a lot of subjective experiences. And for example, many near-death experiences narrate what is happening in the room that they're in.
Yes.
The doctors and their family members, and like they actually, most of them describe feeling outside of their body.
Yes.
And so I find it quite interesting to research those topics. And I find that those who describe hell from having those experiences, they match very much what I study on the Vedic scriptures. And
well, so right, because they've been influencing people.
No, because they're Christian. Years. They don't even know Vedic descriptions.
No, but you got to acknowledge there's some overlap between mythologies, right? Like Christianity is not the only mythology that claims, that some Christians at least claim the hell of to be, painful.
I just find it, to me, that's probably the closest to a proof, because consistently you'll hear from near-death experience that they'll either see the light or they'll go to hell. It's a very consistent experience. And so if it was just random thoughts in the mind, we would see no consistency.
No, and the fact I don't think that demonstrates anything, though. I mean, think about how common it is for people to have a nightmare about their teeth falling out, right? That doesn't mean that, anything mystical is happening here. It's just very common for people to share their experience of having a nightmare about their teeth falling out, which then influences the next person to kind of worry, oh, I hope I don't have a nightmare like that. That sounds awful. And then because their subconscious is worried about it, what do you know? It comes up in a dream. So like if you've got all these people talking about the fact that they experienced subjectively going towards the light, right? Then that's influencing anyone listening to that story. That sticks in the subconscious and therefore influences the kind of experience that brain is likely to generate. Like the human brain is just constantly being influenced by the stories that everyone else is exposing it to.
Yeah,
it doesn't.
It's possible. It's possible.
Well, that's just a fact, right? I mean, from birth, you were exposed to a whole range of narratives that influenced your subconscious mind as well as your conscious mind, correct?
Yeah, it's just that with the near-death experiences, you hear that from different cultures, different religions, different backgrounds, and it's very hard to get a consistent answer or a consistent experience throughout different cultures. I don't think we can take that as just randomness, you know.
No, that's like even better evidence.
Even better?
There's
Oh,
even better evidence that it's
okay.
rationally explainable,
I
because
can
there are
see that.
so many different conceptions of what various forms of the afterlife might be. And all these stories are told to children from so early on. Like one tribe might tell a story. Hey, thank you, Vintage. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Like one tribe might tell the story of the afterlife differently to the way that the tribe, a couple of kilometers over, tells the story to their children. But over time, they still influence each other, right? Because these tribes, they mingle, they share culture, and it's not just these two tribes over the course of history that have been sharing culture and telling their kids about the afterlife. It's just tribal groups all over the planet for hundreds of thousands of years that have been sharing mythology and subjective experiences, influencing each other. So of course we get these, incidental similarities that pop up between faiths, because we've all been influencing each other for hundreds of thousands of years.
It's possible. Like what I see, almost every single near-death experience, they have significant changes in their behavior and their goals in life, and that's, to me, they all describe also like it is quite a real experience. Unlike a dream, they describe it as even more real, or it feels more real than this place when they have that kind of experience, which I find quite intriguing. But I can't prove anything. I'm just saying we see very strong changes in their behavior and their actions after that experience. It's like a night and day, thing.
Yeah, well, I could say that I've had the similar kind of experiences with lucid dreaming, right? I've had lucid dreams that feel more vivid than reality, right? How can I know that this right here, right now, between you and I, how do I know that this isn't a dream that I'm eventually going to wake up from one day?
Correct. I haven't
Right?
had
Like,
those.
right. So it doesn't really prove anything. It's just more subjective experience, right? Which are, again, inescapably, excuse me, again, they're inescapably influenced by what those people have been exposed to.
Yeah, yeah. So, I think in summary, um, it's not that we should be afraid of hell, but we should know there's consequences for our actions, and so we should uh, we should not do to others what we don't want to do unto ourselves. That's the simple formula,
Look, I tend to agree. I certainly don't think that oh, excuse me, I was coughing a lung up over here.
No, no problem.
I certainly don't think that the fear of hell is necessary in order to be a good
Yeah,
person. You know what I mean? I mean,
I
I
agree.
fear no hell. I don't think I'm going anywhere after I die. I think that once my body breaks down, oh sorry, once my body ceases to support life anymore, I think that my nervous system will stop generating experience. I think it'll go back to being the way that it was before I was born, right?
That's another peculiar thing about near-death experience, because it's a clinical death. Many times it's several hours inclusive, and then suddenly life comes back. So it's very, very hard to explain if it's just matter and it's just brain, how that's possible.
Well, we have no proof that it's anything else. That's the thing, right? Like we could jump to conclusions that are unsupported by evidence, or we could take what we do already know, which is that the brain generates all of our experience, and that we've never had evidence of the contrary, and we can just
I tend
accept that
to
that's more likely.
I tend to disagree with the brain generating all experience.
Okay, so where do you think experience is generated other than the brain?
the soul, but then we have to go to
So how do we demonstrate that the soul exists?
Near-death experience.
But again, we have no evidence that any experience is generated independently of the brain. So now you're kind of making a circular argument for the soul existing, and we just
probably we go a long time in that topic, but the idea is the body's clinically dead, the brain no longer working. Doctors say this is finished, there's no life, declared dead. The person then experiences something and then comes back, and the body comes back to life.
Well, this
so
is
you
also...
could call it a mistake from the doctors or whatever. For me, that is the soul.
Well, I mean, maybe, but
okay.
it's kind of a soul of the gaps argument, right? Do you know what a God of the gaps argument is?
No.
It's kind of like if we don't have an explanation for something, we can just claim that a God is responsible for it, right? Like think about how long people used to think that the rain only fell if the rain gods were happy with us, right? And if you really needed it to rain so that your crops would grow, you'd have to sacrifice some more goats to the god of rain, Rainatron, the god of rain. That doesn't mean that when it finally rains, it was your sacrifices to Rainatron that made it rain. It just means it wasn't going to rain yet. Like there wasn't enough moisture that had been evaporated up into the appropriate level of the atmosphere, and then condensed into water. Like
so how do you
you could claim when you don't understand how something works.
It's gone.
You could just claim that God did it. It's the same with the soul, right? Like if you don't have an explanation for why it is that people have experiences of going to hell or to heaven when they're clinically dead, you could just say, oh, it must be a soul. That's not true, though. We're always learning more things that provide a rational explanation for why a perfectly natural phenomenon has occurred, right? Like the sensation of having floated out of one's body, the sensation of having visited hell or visited heaven. The evidence in support of these things being caused by a soul is it's just so weak, when really we have every reason to believe that it's probably just another phenomenon, an interesting phenomenon nonetheless, but just another phenomenon of the human brain.
So how do you explain it then? If it's just clinically dead and then still experiencing things and all that, how do you explain it?
Well, like I said before, right?
You're saying
don't know how to determine whether or not. Well,
sorry.
Look, I've looked into these studies before too. Like I've got a book on my shelf all about them. It's, where is it? It's one by like Rupert Sheldrake. Actually, I've got a couple. I've got one that Chopra wrote. I've got a few, in fact. I've read up on this stuff too. And the problem with these studies is that they don't demonstrate that anything has happened independent of the brain. They demonstrate that things have been perceived by way of the senses of the person who is clinically dead in a way that the doctors haven't necessarily always been able to identify. They only describe things that are knowable from the position of the person in the room. So whenever they set something up like a little message on top of the cabinets or on top of the light fixture or something, so that person can maybe verify that they actually were excuse me, that they actually were above the light fixture, they actually were floating, they can never tell us what's there. They can never tell us what was written on this little secret message. All they can tell us is about things that were in the room that would have been identifiable from the position that they were laying in the middle of the room. They can only tell us about things that would have been detectable from where their brain physically was in the room. We've never been able to demonstrate that a body actually, like a spiritual body or anything, actually leaves and can see things that the physical body wasn't able to pick up. We've never been able to demonstrate that.
Yes,
So
yes.
again, all
How
we
do you?
have is evidence that further suggests that these are experiences generated by the nervous system. They're local to the brain. In the same way that you can have a dream where you feel as though you're flying, your brain is generating that sensation. It feels like you're flying in the dream. It doesn't mean that it is. It's an
But
altered state of consciousness, which is
when there's
convincing to the mind, but doesn't mean it's real.
yeah. So how do you explain? I'm still not sure. So when there's clinical death, you're saying the brain's still working?
Well, it depends what you mean by clinical death, right? I mean, there are
Like
people who
full,
say, pardon?
just like full dead is dead. No life, no signs of life, no breathing, no nothing is dead.
Sure. We also, like I said before, man, we know that residual electrical activity, like bioelectrical activity, still occurs within the nervous system, even after, the heart stops beating, right? That you don't have to be, like, your heart doesn't need to be beating for your nervous system to still be generating experience.
So you're saying the brain keeps working even though the body's dead?
An altered state of consciousness persists. Yes, we've got no good reason to believe that it persists for very long. It doesn't last for very long. Like, we still need oxygen to be present in our blood vessels. Excuse me, in our circulatory system. Like the heart can stop pumping, and oxygen can still be delivered to whichever parts of the body are necessary to keep the nervous system going for a little while after. Right? Like, near-death experiences are labeled as such because they're not death experiences. Death is something you don't come back from, right? A near-death experience is not a death experience, right? These are people who were near actual death.
Correct.
And there are cases of people who are brain dead, who don't have any experience and no conscious experience, despite the fact that their heart is still pumping. And people can be brain dead for ages, and they wake up, they come out of it, and they remember nothing. And sometimes they report remembering hearing or smelling certain things at some point, kind of like a real hazy dream, right? But at no point can we demonstrate that anything is happening independent of the central nervous system, especially the brain.
Okay, I understand your point of view.
Maybe, and it could be wrong too. There could be a soul. It's just we can't demonstrate that there isn't anyway.
Soul is the consciousness, basically. What you're talking as what is consciousness, that is the same as the soul.
Well, we don't need the word soul then, do we? We can just use the word consciousness. Like,
correct. Yeah, it's the same thing.
The sum total, like the perfectly natural phenomenon of experience being generated by a nervous system. If that's what you're saying the soul is, then we don't need to use the word soul then. And there's nothing mystical about it. It's just a natural phenomenon, which is amazing. It's an incredibly interesting natural phenomenon. I mean, you and I are right smack bang in the middle of having one right now. But it's just you don't need the word soul.
It's just that according to Vedic knowledge, the consciousness is not limited to the mind only, to the brain, and like that. It's beyond.
No, I get that, but according to the Bible, Jesus walked on water. So like something being written down doesn't mean that it's true, especially if it's written down by someone thousands of years ago. These people thought that the world was flat, and that that the sun revolved around the earth.
Yes.
Like writing down something that you believe doesn't make the belief true.
Correct. Yeah, that's a whole nother topic, and proof of God and all these. within Vedic knowledge is a little bit clearer. It's not so much just some belief and.
I'd say it's Vedic belief, not Vedic knowledge, because there's claims that are unsupported by
it's a perspective.
decent evidence. You know what I mean? Sure, it's a perspective, but the problem is that it's a perspective that's not supported by evidence. Like, it's a perspective that Jesus walked on water. There are people who hold that perspective. They believe that Jesus walked on water. But again, that doesn't make it true.
Okay, I understand.
Maybe. Either way, it's been lovely to talk to you. You've been polite and patient, and I feel like you've contributed sincerely, and that means a lot to me.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me as a guest, and shout out to the chat. It's always having fun.
I agree. All the best, my friend. Namaste.
Namaste.
I do like the notion of namaste, you know. I see in you what is in me. Hey, thank you, Justin. Yeehaw, cowboy. If you're not already following Justin, just submit to your fate and follow him, okay? Just accept the will of the universe and follow Justin. Do what's good for you. Let's have a chat to Mandinga. Thank you so much to everyone who's been double tapping as well. It means a ton. Thank you so much. And the gifters as well. It means a ton. I'm so grateful. Mandinga, how you doing? Mandinga, do you read me? Over. Mandinga's in the comment section, but not picking up. Might have to. This is weird. I can see them commenting in the chat section, but they're not picking up that they've come live. Mandinga, do you read me? Testing. Hello? I can hear breathing on something. Can you hear
Daniel? me? I pressed the wrong button. Sorry for that.
No stress. All good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. Thank you. Are you a Christian?
No. I'm a non-believer.
A non-believer. Cool.
Yes.
Well, in that case, I'll tell you what. I'll have you up until I have someone else in the guest queue.
Sure. Go ahead.
But it's lovely to have you up. What's your take? What do you think? Should we be scared of hell?
Oh no, I don't believe in any heaven or hell.
Got it. Why not for you?
Well, I wasn't an ex-Christian and an ex-New Ager.
Okay.
So now I'm a full non-believer. I really don't believe in anything supernatural.
Got it. And you consider hell to be of a supernatural nature, so you...
Of course, yes.
Got it. As far as you're concerned, what does the term supernatural mean?
Anything out of what is observable.
Okay, interesting. So would you consider... I don't want you to think that just because you're an atheist, you get off scot-free here. Do you consider things that you can't observe to be supernatural, therefore including things like gases?
Yeah, but we can measure those. So I do trust science.
So it doesn't have to be observable by you. It just has to be detectable in some way.
Yeah, detectable. Yeah.
Right.
Or even its effects, like dark matter. We can't observe dark matter, but we can see its effects.
Right. I agree with this. All right. Cool. We're more or less on the same page then. That's cool.
Yeah.
I do find it interesting when people will say something like, you know, a miracle is an example of a supernatural event. And I say, well, not really. Right? Because if it actually occurred, then it happened within nature and is therefore, by definition, natural, not supernatural. Anything that does occur or exists within this universe is by definition natural, even if you don't have an explanation for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you consider things like skyscrapers and smartphones and electric cars to be natural?
They're obviously man-made, but not naturally occurring.
What's that?
That's a good question.
Yeah. Why does something being man-made make it not natural? Because
Interesting.
yeah, I feel that everything is natural, right? Like, we wouldn't struggle to consider something like a beehive to be natural, would we? Or like an anthill or a beaver dam, right? It was created by an animal, but it's still part of the natural world, isn't it?
Yeah.
But we're also animals.
Yep.
And we make all kinds of stuff. But we're not separate from nature, are we? We're just...
No, we are part of nature.
Yeah, I don't know. When I started thinking about that, it kind of changed the way I felt about a few things. I don't know how many atheists I've ever spoken to have like agreed with me on that one, but there you go. It's look, to be fair, I'm glad that you're not afraid of hell, Mandinga. I do feel good about that. I don't think you should be. What was it for you when you were a Christian? What was it for you that led to you leaving and no longer being convinced?
Oh, that's a really great journey for me. It was studying about anthropology, cosmology, astronomy, psychology, and neuroscience, how the brain works, the history of our species on this planet. All those things came together, and there was no sign of God. So I think it's more fascinating to view the nature of reality through the lens of science rather than religion.
Look, I agree. I largely agree. And so you feel as though what you learned through the natural sciences kind of dispelled any belief you had in the supernatural.
There's no sign of a supreme being the author of what's occurring. So, but again, the nature of reality through science is a lot more fascinating and amazing. There are things that we know, there are things that we don't know, and there are things that we kind of know, but that's the fun part.
Yes.
For me.
I agree. It's much more detailed, it's much more useful.
Yeah.
I agree wholeheartedly. I might there are a couple of comments popping up in the chat I'd love to address if you don't mind.
Sure, of course, go ahead.
Rural Health says something similar to what someone else says. We aren't born with the knowledge to build cell phones. Well, you and I certainly weren't. No, and even the people who invented the first cell phone, they weren't born with that knowledge either, were they? It was learned, right? In the same way that, many baby animals aren't necessarily born with all of the knowledge necessary to do what it is that they end up learning how to do. They have to observe from their parents or their community, right? So again, in that sense, I see skyscrapers and electric vehicles and smartphones as being no different, personally. Esther says, so by that logic, we can see animals as food to eat, probably taking a dig at me being a vegan, which I'm very used to, don't stress. That's correct, yeah. You could see animals as food to eat. That's entirely correct. You could also see other humans as targets for SA, because we see all kinds of grape occurring in the non-human animal world, right? We could look at the non-human animal world and see how much schmurder occurs, how much unaliving occurs. and use that as justification for us going around unaliving people. We just say, oh, well, all the other animals are doing it. Why can't we do it? That doesn't mean you have to do it though, mate. Like just because other animals, grape and unalive and consume each other, it doesn't mean that we have to do the same thing. It's just not necessary. It's a choice that you can make. I'd encourage you not to. But you could use, here we go, Esther says again, what's wrong with their conscience? Well, that's the thing. As far as we can determine, animals don't really experience having a moral compass to the same degree that we do. They might, and we just don't know how to pick up on it. But
what I've learned that is the majority of animals have a level of consciousness, very different to ours, but they do have some degree of consciousness, but very limited.
As far as we can tell, right? I mean, even humans, there are plenty of humans who have a relatively limited conscious experience compared to yours or mine.
Yeah.
And compared to some people, I'm sure that my conscious experience is relatively limited. But no one can experience anything more or less than what their nervous system is capable of generating.
Yep, agree.
Right? Be it yourself, be it your dog, be it the chicken that you paid to be slaughtered on your behalf. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, no one gets to choose which species they are, but are therefore restricted in terms of what it is that they end up experiencing by way of whatever nervous system they have. I know, food for thought, either way. I have got someone else. Zed, you're welcome to come up for a bit if you'd like while we wait for someone else. Mandinga, it's been lovely to have you up. Do you mind if I maybe have a quick chat with someone else?
Sure, of course, Daniel.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your patronage, mate.
Take care.
Likewise, man. Love in the chat for Mandinga. Please. Thanks so much. What have we got? Oh, we got someone else. Here we go. We'll see how this goes.
Hi.
Bree, hello. How you doing?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm good. I hope you don't take this the wrong way. Can I just get a quick age check?
Sure, I'm 20.
20, for sure. Thank you. Bree, are you a Christian?
I am.
Got it.
Well, I'm a believer, so.
Got it. Why should I be afraid of hell?
I don't think that you should be afraid of hell.
Okay. Why not?
I have a quick question for you. Is that what you think a relationship with God is? Fear of hell?
Well, I mean, what kind of relationship do you think I would need to have in order to avoid hell?
Well, being an ex-Christian and all, I would assume that salvation, comes by accepting His grace and accepting what He did for us, etc. So,
really?
yeah, I understand that hell obviously comes as a result of rejecting that and walking in a destructive path or whatever the case may be. But as a believer, right, if you've done the one thing required of you for salvation, right, then why would your focus be on fearing hell?
Sure, but it depends, doesn't it? Like, it's all down to interpretation, really, whether or not one person is doing what's required to get into heaven and away from hell. You understand that there's not consensus amongst Christians as to what's required, right?
Okay, well, I'm not sure if I could say I agree, because I think sorry, a common misconception is that people think that you wake up when you gain full consciousness or whatever, and you've got to do this and you've got to do that and you've got to give to the poor and all these different things to be saved. But See, I think that's where a lot of people, you know, they birth that misconception, because you don't do good works to be saved, but you do them as a result of being saved. Okay, and people think that, oh, if I mess up, if I don't do this right, then I am going to hell. And then they always have, and I'll be honest, I've had it, they always have this constant fear of hell motivating them to do better. So their relationship with God is done out of, and I know that we're supposed to fear God, but it's obviously not in the sense of being, oh, I'm afraid of him, so I'm gonna have a relationship with him. But instead they have this quote unquote relationship or religion based relationship with him, motivated by their fear of hell.
I think that that's quite common, to be honest. Like
Of
there's
course.
this entity that no one can demonstrate as real, number one, right? No one can prove God exists. No one can prove that any God exists.
No one could
But there are
disprove
many
it.
people who believe God exists, which
Yeah,
which
that's
is all that really needs to happen. Someone just needs to believe that God exists, and then the fear can take over.
right.
Right? Like you don't
Which
have to
are we referring to? Oh, I'm afraid, as in suspect and victim, or referring to I'm revering you, I respect you, so obviously I'm fearful of you. For example,
fear is not respect.
okay, am I allowed to explain respectfully? So let me explain that. So I'm going to use an analogy. So child and parent relationship. I know that not all parents are strict. Mine weren't strict. They were pretty common, normal parents. And growing up, when I was away from them and I would make a decision like, let's say if I have the opportunity to skip school or whatever the case may be, I stop and I think, and this is a kind of, I don't want to say reverence because that's a really heavy word, but there's a kind of respect that I have for them. Oh, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to make that decision because I know that might be upsetting to them. I'm not going to make that decision because I know I can get in trouble for that. I know I'm not going to make that decision because I know that this is something that I could be disciplined for, and I do not want that. So do you see where I am coming from?
Well, that is a fear. That's a fear of punishment. That's motivating you
Okay,
towards
but is
or
that
away
a bad
from
fear or is it
doing
a
certain
good thing?
behaviors.
Do you think that fear is inherently a bad thing?
No, I think fear helps us to survive in many
Yeah,
cases,
it
right?
could. Yeah, I
But
agree. Right?
it can also be taken advantage of. And I'd say that, and psychology would support this as well. Psychology would
Yeah,
support
I
that
agree with
fear
you.
is the
I agree with
well.
you.
Hold on. You asked me not to speak when you were, and I did. So, please.
I'm just saying I agree with you.
Psychologists would say that fear is the most powerful emotion, and it's certainly the most susceptible to being co-opted and taking advantage of. Right? If you can convince someone, I don't know if you've ever heard of the who was it? Was it Skinner or Bandura? I can't remember.
Yes,
It was a few. It was a few.
classical theorist. Is that what you're
Pardon?
talking about? Are you talking about IBF Skinner?
Yeah, I think it might have been Skinner who
Operational
conditioned.
learning.
Pardon?
Operational learning. Is that what you're referring to?
Operant
Classical
condition. Do you
learning.
mean operant conditioning?
Right. Those learning theories. Are
Right.
you
Yeah.
referring?
So you can condition anyone to fear
Yeah.
anything,
Yes. You're
right?
right.
Especially if you get to them young enough. And I would say that this applies to religious claims too, right?
This replies to
If
a
you
lot
get
of
to
things.
someone, I'm trying. It
I'm
also,
listening.
you know, it also is the case that the younger you get to someone, the easier it is to condition them to fear anything, right? Like if you're familiar with these experiments, then I'm sure you remember that the experimenters were able to condition sheer
Mm-hmm.
terror into these toddlers whenever a fluffy white bunny was presented, right? It's just a matter of association. You present any given nervous system, right? You present any given nervous system with any stimulus whatsoever, could be a desirable stimulus like a fluffy bunny, or it could be candy, or it could be their own mother. And you simultaneously play Gabriella, thank you so much. So cute. I appreciate that. Good timing for that gift. I respect that. Thank you. And you concurrently expose them to something undesirable, right? Like I think in the case of these experiments, it was like a loud clanging noise, like an extremely loud clanging noise. They took like a mallet and struck it against a metal table or something like that. So over time, these toddlers, didn't take long at all, but over time, these toddlers learned to associate the presence of this fluffy white bunny with this extremely painful, loud noise. And then obviously over time, they didn't have to play the loud noise anymore. They could just expose the child to the bunny rabbit, and they would just start bawling their eyes out and clawing at the door, trying to get out of the experimental, what do you call it, the laboratory, I suppose. Right? If you get to a child young enough, you convince them that something like hell is real, and you tell them, now, don't talk back to your parents, or you go to hell. Don't say the Lord's name in vain, or you go to hell. Don't be working on Sundays, or you go to hell. Don't have sex before marriage, or you go to etc., etc., etc. You can just make up whatever rules you want and just tell them that if they do those things, they're going to burn forever. Or whatever version of hell it is that any religious parent might tell their children is real. You can train that child to be terrified of being disrespectful to their parents, having sex before marriage, taking the Lord's name in vain, working on a Sunday. You can just give them any rule and condition them to think that that equals pain and suffering and torture.
Yeah.
And they'll learn to fear doing anything you tell them to.
I agree. But doesn't that bring us back to the point where I asked you if fear, is inherently wrong, and you said no, it's not wrong, but it could be taken advantage of because there are parents or guardians or whatever the case may be that do that, and I am not rejecting that, and I am not denying that. However, there are those that encourage their kids to see that their faith in a better light, I should say. And couldn't we agree that there are people who are not born believers? However, they would come into that maybe midway through their lives or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
You don't have to be quote unquote indoctrinated, because if we're talking about indoctrination, then we could be indoctrinated with a lot of things as children.
That's correct. And this is why that's correct. And this is why education is so important, because education is the opposite of indoctrination, right? Indoctrination is the exposure to any particular doctrine, whilst having any countervailing claims being withheld. So you can't learn to identify when you're being lied to about something, when you're being indoctrinated.
Yeah.
Right. And often what happens in religious households, not all the time, but often people are taught to ignore science. Right. That's textbook indoctrination. They'll say, believe everything in this book, but don't believe a word that your science teacher tells you. That's indoctrination. Right. They're being encouraged to ignore claims that challenge or maybe even disprove. Thank you, Cookie Nibs. Thank you so much. One day I will have a mustache to rival that digital one. Thank you. Oh, love it. Just keep them coming. That is what indoctrination is, right? Like you expose people to one claim, you restrict their access to information that would help them realize that it's bullshit. Thank you again. Oh, so generous. I'm going to turn into a cowboy. Thank you kindly. Yeehaw, cowgirl. I don't know. You got to slow down. I got a conversation to carry on here. Thank you so much, Cookie Nibs. It means a ton. I think you smashed the goal like on your own right there. That's very cool of you. Love in the chat for Cookie Nibs. Thank you so much. I did say keep them coming. That's on me. As a team effort. Love in the chat for Cookie Nibs, please. Thank you. And that's what happens in so many religious households, right? You know, they're told to believe that the Bible is accurate, but to reject what can be proven scientifically. This is what indoctrination is, right? I mean, were you ever told that? Were you ever taught to reject evolution, for
No,
example?
no, I grew up very differently. So
Okay,
that's why I'm
good.
able to say that it's not every household that you'd find the same thing in and view God in a bad light. Did I have the fear of hell? Of course I did,
Sure.
realistically speaking.
Did your
But
parents?
obviously, I understand that any relationship based off of power dynamics and fear and stuff like that, motivated by something bad, isn't a good thing.
No.
It one party very guilty, and this is my aim to show that regardless of the indoctrination and the brainwashing and all of these different things, that um we can view him in the light that he's in a good light, because I know that there's a horrible history with the church and with believers and with all these different things, and I'm not rejecting reality, but I am rejecting that, which is your prompt there, that you should not be afraid of it. But I think that, I mean, you don't believe in those things anymore. But I mean, as someone who's open to that, if I was speaking to someone open to that, no, I don't think that your relationship with God should be motivated off of, oh, I'm afraid to go to hell, so let me worship God or whatever the case will be. And I don't think you should be afraid of that.
I
But
don't
I
think you
do
can
think,
deny that that's baked into the religion, though, right? I mean,
no,
that is an aspect of the religion.
I said I'm not rejecting.
You could choose to ignore that
Who said I'm
part of
ignoring?
the
I said
theology is that, you know, you will be punished for not committing to this relationship with Jesus, right? Like, I don't have a relationship with
you
Jesus
can
right now
ignore
in the same way that I don't have a relationship with Santa Claus, because I don't think Santa Claus is real,
it. Okay, because
right? And I'm going to be punished for that, right? That's what you believe. I mean, I can't help that I don't think Jesus exists, in the
okay.
same way that I can't help that I don't think Santa Claus is real. Do you think it's justice to punish people for not being able to believe something?
I haven't said not being able to believe, but here's the thing, right? People have that, how to put it, they have a knowledge of it. So, like, okay, if I know something is real, but okay, like you're trying to imply that I could ignore something. If I know something is real and I have point A and point B, and I have to, okay, the fact is I know it's real, right? But I have option A, which is believe it's true or whatever, and option B to reject it. And I choose option B to reject it because I just simply don't want to believe in it. Then am I really not knowing that it's real, or am I just rejecting that it's real? Just asking a question.
I mean, that's the thing, right? Do you think that belief and knowledge are the same thing?
Uh, well, that's a tricky one, because I believe my belief helps me to gain knowledge. I don't know if that makes sense.
Would you repeat that?
So I would say my belief helps me to gain knowledge. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, I don't think it does. Knowledge is a subset of belief, right? So we all believe things, but some of the things that we believe qualify as knowledge when they're supported by fact, right? Beliefs that aren't supported by fact, they don't really qualify as knowledge, right? They're just beliefs. So, for example, you know, a child might believe that I'm not sure where you're from. I don't know if this is common where you're from, but children commonly, at least where I live, they believe that Santa Claus exists. Right? Are you
Mhm.
familiar with Santa Claus?
Yes.
Right.
We're familiar that it's mythical here too, though. So
Yeah.
that's why,
Right.
yeah.
But children commonly believe that they know Santa is real, correct?
Yeah.
Right. And if you asked a child, do you believe that Santa's real, or do you know that they're real? Often the kids will go, "Oh no, I know they're real."
Yeah.
Right? But you and I understand that they're wrong, or at least they're almost certainly wrong. Like, I can't prove that Santa's not real, but I've got no good reason to believe that they are, do I? Neither do you. But a child is convinced that they know Santa Claus is real. So feeling as though you know something is real, that doesn't mean that it is, correct? Right. So when it comes to something like belief in, excuse me, when it comes to something like belief in, God, it's a bit the same. You could ask a Christian, do you believe that God is real, or do you know that God's real? And they might say, oh no, I know. And you might go, oh, how do you know? And then they might give you reasons that are convincing. And then what do you know? You become a Christian. Or they might give you reasons that are just like not very convincing. And so you continue not believing the same thing as them, right? Like, what is it for you that convinces you that God is real?
For me, I know that there's common misconceptions with believers. Oh, you lack critical thinking, or you reject science, yada yada yada. But for me, I like to think. So while my faith started off as obviously I'm just in it because I was born into it, I branched off a bit when I got older because I started to, think for myself. And I explored different options very vaguely, though. Very vaguely. I wouldn't lie about that. And because I am very interested in the natural and reality and stuff like that, I looked into different scientific aspects, which I'm not going to get into because I am still learning my personal experiences, stuff like that. That's where my belief is rooted.
Right. So personal experiences.
Is that all you heard? Well, yes, that's one of the factors.
Right. Okay. So do you think that personal experiences, Matthew, what's up, my friends? Please make sure you're following Matthew if you don't already. Personal experiences. Do you feel as though if somebody who is a Hindu and believes in the Hindu pantheon, if they believe that they've experienced the presence of Vishnu or Krishna or Ganesha or Kali or any of the Hindu gods, do you think that confirms that they exist?
No, but that's why I factored in other things. That's why I'm genuinely asking if that's all you heard me saying personal experiences.
Maybe I misheard. I thought you said personal experiences.
No, I said other things among that.
Okay, cool. So what other things then? So you accept that personal experiences don't prove a belief is accurate?
I'm not going to say I don't believe it doesn't prove because testimonies help others a lot in coming to the faith, and testimonies are personal experiences.
Right, but you understand that they don't prove that something's true, right? I mean, like, we could talk about the same testimony, like the same kind of thing being given by a Hindu,
Yeah.
right? And you wouldn't accept that as being proof that Hinduism is real.
I won't say I won't, but I could see where you're coming from, but I'm not going to say, oh, well, no, I don't believe that. Oh, well, yes, I do believe that. But I would say you asked me my reason, so I'm telling you one of my factors are personal experience.
Yeah, and that's kind of like what I'm getting at though, is like in the same way that like a child might tell me, I believe Santa's real because it says from Santa on my present. I mean, well, you and I both understand that that's what the parents do. They write from Santa on the gifts, right?
Yeah.
And so you and I both understand that evidence doesn't really mean anything. In the
Yeah.
same way that, like,
Doesn't
someone's
mean,
personal experience
doesn't
doesn't
mean
really
anything.
prove anything.
Yes, I understand.
Yeah.
It,
Yeah.
it wouldn't mean, because if I was a non-believer and somebody came to me with their personal experience, it may or it may not, get me. So it may not open that door for me, may or may not. But I see where you're coming from, because it might not be sufficient enough for someone who does not believe in what I believe in. So yes, I
Right.
understand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what other evidence do you have? Like, if we can we can put personal experience to the side,
Yeah.
that
I
doesn't
was
prove anything.
I
Is
was
there
saying.
something else you've got?
So I was saying, when I got older, I think a lot, right? Even as a child, I think and I think. So
Yeah.
when I got older, I started to question my own faith, because it's something that I've been in, frankly, all my life,
Yes.
And as I said, I vaguely discovered other options. Like, I wouldn't have gone that deeply into it, but I looked into agnosticism or Islam.
Yeah. I think you've muted yourself, Brie.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yeah. We
No,
heard
I
you say
didn't mute
that.
myself. I got a phone.
We heard you say that you've.
I got a phone call.
Excuse me.
I got a phone call. I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah.
Apologies are for when you've done something wrong. You've not done anything wrong.
Okay.
So you were saying that you've looked into agnosticism, which I am. I'm an agnostic atheist, right?
Yeah.
You've looked into Islam.
Yeah.
What is it about those that you don't like? Let's say Islam. What is it about Islam that's not convincing to you?
I wouldn't say it's not convincing, because it was actually one of the most, apart from my own faith, of course, it was one of the things that I've been very much conflicted about. Meaning, I think this person.
Nobody doing directly to the property.
Whoa! I don't know what's going on with the
It's
audio.
the realest conversation I ever had.
What's that?
What is going on? I don't know what that was.
It's about
Is she okay? I hope she's
when
alright.
you know who you are,
Hello?
nothing cannot come around you.
Who's talking?
It almost feels like someone's walked in and is
I'm
like,
gonna have to hop off. I don't know who's talking over my. I don't know who's that.
that's wild. We're
Is it
picking
okay
up
if
on.
we rejoin? Because I'm not sure what's happening.
Yeah, sure. No problem. I'll let you down. I'll keep an eye out for you. I'll give you a moment to get back in the queue. So weird. Yeah. So cool. At this point, we're kind of looking at why Bree is convinced of Christianity, but not convinced of another religion, for example, Islam. Right? Well, I would say that the evidence is of a comparable standard. There are claims of miracles, there are claims of prophecies, there are claims of all kinds of things. But again, like, claims are not proof of anything in and of themselves, are they? Like, we need evidence in support of a claim from outside of the claim in order to make the claim likely to be true. I'll see if Bree's back in there. I'll tell you what, Bree, I'll give you another minute, and then I might just move on to the next person. I hope she comes back up, because she was lovely to talk to. Yeah, so, anyone can claim anything. Anyone, absolutely anyone can claim absolutely anything. Go for it, Bree. Jump in the queue, and I'll let you back up. Not seeing the guest box. I don't know how to help you with that one. Might just have to, I don't know. I'm not sure what to do here, Bree. If you can't find the guest box, we might just have to move on. But if you can't make it up, it's okay. Come back another time, please. I mean it. It was nice to talk to you, and I'd love some love in the chat for Bree, because she was polite and sincere, and I think that she was listening. I think she was actually, participating in a conversation there, which we can't say for everyone. So thank you so much, Bree. Oh, there she is. All right, wonderful. I'll try again.
Okay, I think I got it.
Round 2. We'll try again.
Oh gosh, I don't know what happened there. Someone was saying bleed or something like that from another life, because I genuinely don't know where that was coming from.
Maybe. Who knows? Could have been a bunch of demons. Who got no idea. Okay, cool. So we were talking about how you find Christianity convincing,
Yeah.
but you don't find Islam convincing.
Yeah.
So what for you is the difference? What makes Christianity convincing, but not Islam?
Yeah. So disclaimer for if there's any Muslims on here, I'm not here to bash anyone's faith. I'm not doing that. I'm just stating my personal stance. So I do think that there are similarities. However, it stops with the what they believe about Jesus and what I, as someone who reads the Bible and stuff, believe in Jesus. And I think that is what, where I drew the line, and where I was like, okay, so I don't believe that.
Could you tell me what it is that they believe about Jesus that you don't believe?
Sure. The fact that he was just a mere man or mere prophet, this is something that they believe. They believe that I'm not exactly sure how it goes. So if there's any Muslims on the live, you could correct me. But I know this for sure. They do not believe that he was crucified and resurrected, but they believe it was made to appear that way, like someone else was crucified, and then they made it to appear that that was Jesus.
So why do you believe those things? What evidence do you have in support of those events transpiring?
Okay, so the eyewitness accounts, well, obviously the fact that I believe in the Bible, that would be my major piece of evidence.
Why is that? Why do you believe the Bible?
I believe the Bible because I don't know how to explain this. I'm so sorry. Yeah, but I read some time ago, because I was looking for evidence outside of the Bible, right? Trying to come from an unbiased point of view.
Yeah.
And I read I don't know what you call it, but it was eyewitness testimony from Josephus Tacitus, I think it was.
Oh no, so Josephus is not an eyewitness. Josephus wrote 200 years after the supposed disappearance of Jesus. He doesn't even mention Jesus by name. He mentions a character called Christus, right, which the Christians followed, and he says that he doesn't believe for a second what they believed. He thought that he believed that the crucifixion didn't actually occur. So Josephus doesn't support the claims in the Bible.
I would not agree with that based on what I read, unless both of us read from different sources, I think.
What did you read?
If I could get a moment to pull it up. Or
if you
is
like,
that
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, he wrote a sentence about someone called Christus that the Christians worshipped, and this is in the same text that he wrote about Hercules. Like there's not really, like Josephus doesn't really support. Yeah, correct. Spell song. Thank you very much. He referred to it as a mischievous superstition or silly superstition. So Josephus was a Jewish historian who was just recording anything at the time, or maybe Tacitus, whichever one it was. They don't. Neither of them believed the claims of Christianity. They were just recording some of the. Like if right now, if I wrote down, currently there are a whole bunch of Scientologists, and they believe that Xenu is waiting under a volcano for the day that all the Thetans are, what do they call it? Audited out of humans or something like that. That's just me recording what other people believe. Right?
Okay.
That's not proof of Scientology being true. That's just me recording things that are going on around me. Right? So that's what Josephus was doing. He doesn't support the claims of Christianity or.
If this is incorrect, and that's fine if it is, because I'm just telling you, as like I'm not saying that this is the basis for my belief. I'm just telling you something I read.
Sure. I asked you for why you believe, and this is one of the reasons why you believe. That's cool. That's okay.
Yeah, it's not a basis for my faith, but I guess it would have affirmed it. I don't know. But if it's not correct, if the source I'm reading from is not correct, you can let me know.
Yeah, well, you know, I totally get where you're coming from, because when I was younger, excuse me, and I decided that I wanted to actually, you know, kind of double check what kind of sources we had outside of the Bible that supported the Bible. I did the same kind of thing, right? Like I went through these sources, and I can save you some time. What you're going to find is that there aren't any. The claims made in the book are only supported by the book. And to claim that that proves that the book is accurate would be to do something called circular reasoning. Do you know what circular reasoning is?
I could guess, does it mean like going like around same argument time and time again, or is it something else?
Kind of. It's, I'll give you like a basic explanation. Like if I write a book, and in that book, first page, it says everything in this book is true. And then on the next page, I write 2 + 2 = 5.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And then I give that to someone, and I go, look, here's this book. And they open it, they go, okay, 2 + 2 = first page, everything in this book is true. Okay, all right. Second page, 2 + 2 = 5. Should they believe this book?
No, because the book is the only basis. Well, the only thing that affirms the book.
Correct.
Okay.
That's exactly correct. So this is what we have in the Bible, right? Especially when it comes to the miraculous claims described in the Bible. This is why, you know, the Bible can be considered a collection of myths, right? Is it possible that this person, Jesus, existed? Yeah, it's possible. Do we have good reasons to believe that they did? Depends on the historian that you ask. We don't know that Jesus existed, right? The sources that we have in support of Jesus existing are not really that great. But what we do have is on top of this believable claim, which is that a person existed, we have all of these extraordinary claims, like they will perform miracles, walking on water, turning water to wine, turning however much fish and bread into however much was needed to feed 5,000, like etc., etc. There's no evidence. Sorry?
Is it okay if I ask a question on that before? Okay. So who's to say that these claims in the Bible by these the writers or the authors or whatever the case may be, who's to say that these claims are not true? Why is it impossible for Jesus to be on earth at the time? Because him being a man here on earth, that much we can establish. Maybe for you it's a definite for me. But why can't it be true that he performed miracles, or that he walked on water, or that he rose from the dead? Is it because we limit an infinite God to nature, to what we know in nature? Is it that we deny the fact that some things could be supernatural? Are we limiting what can and can't be true?
Well, there's a lot in what you just said that's inaccurate. To be fair, I'll focus in on one. Perhaps is that the number one, you're kind of presuppose when you say something like, "How can we say that God can't do these things?" Well, you're presupposing that God exists to begin with. We don't. Thank you, Bertram. Yeehaw, cowboy. We don't have. Pardon?
No, okay, so right, I know where you're coming from with that, right? But I'm just saying it from, let's say, from a standpoint where I don't want to say that you believe, but I believe, right? So I'm speaking, obviously, I'm asking the question with that I believe, with the standpoint that I am a believer. So I'm asking you the question because for me, I believe in that God, and I believe these things
Right.
about that God, right?
Right.
But I know
But
that
again, you and I have already established that believing something is real doesn't mean that it is, right? So if you say something like, we can't put it past God to be capable of doing these miracles, well, yeah, but we already know, we've already agreed that believing that the God even exists in the first place doesn't mean that they do. And to make an argument such as we can't put it past God to be capable of doing this, that's to do something called presupposing. Do you know what presupposing is?
I've heard of it. Not, I'm
Yeah,
not.
it's kind of where you formulate an argument and you treat one of the premises of the argument as though it's already been proven to be accurate, so that you can support the conclusion of your argument. But that doesn't work. Like, it's basically a hypothetical. Okay, like we could say hypothetically, if an all-powerful God exists, then they can do whatever the hell they want. Sure, but no one can actually demonstrate that any God really does exist, right? So you know what I mean? We could just say hypothetically God could do anything. Yeah, that's fine, but that's not quite the it's not quite.
Well, I mean, you could say that because you don't believe in God, but that's what I'm saying. I asked the question, obviously, from my point of view, because you said that we've established that belief alone is not enough. I did not say that, nor did I affirm that. I agree with you that belief may not be a great or reliable position to encourage or convince someone who is not of the faith. I agree with that. That may
We
not be
did
sufficient.
we did say that, though. We both agreed that, you know,
Outrightly say that
children believing that Santa exists doesn't mean that Santa exists.
right. And yes, I did agree with your points, but I did not outrightly say, well, I don't think belief is enough. I did say, however, that I don't think that belief would be sufficient for someone who does not believe. Do you remember me saying that?
Do you mean faith would not be sufficient?
Yeah, right. So we were talking about personal experiences, and I said, well, yeah, I see where you're coming from with that. I don't think that maybe it would be sufficient for someone who doesn't believe in what I believe in. I don't think a personal experience would be sufficient, and that's where I said that. But I don't remember outrightly saying that, belief, as a believer, is not enough. And although it might not be enough for me personally in my personal work, because I can't just, because that's how I was born, right? That's what I was born into. I woke up and I believe something because that's what my family told me. But I told you that as I grew older, I wanted to have my own thought process, and so belief alone was not enough for me. I wanted to know why I believed. I wanted to know what I believed in, etc., etc. So
Yeah,
yeah.
but we've already established that, again, the forms of evidence that you've given so far, and like you've given me personal experience, which we both accepted doesn't prove anything. You brought up Tacitus or Josephus. I think it was Josephus.
Which I
We've spoken about why that's not, like, you claimed that it was an eyewitness account, but it's not. It was written 200 years
yeah, but
after
you
the
do
fact.
realize that even if that accounts with like, okay, me before bringing up that point to you, right? That wasn't something that was like the basis of my faith or the foundation. I don't know if you understand where I'm coming from.
No, no,
So
I understand. What the only
yeah,
thing is, Brie, I can only really respond when I ask you for evidence of a belief that you have. I
I
can only
understand.
really respond to the things that you bring up.
Yeah,
So
but you understand
whilst
that.
Josephus's writings might not be foundational to your belief, that's what you brought up. So I can only really respond to
Yeah,
the
yeah,
things
yeah.
that you bring up.
Totally, totally. Well, I was starting in, but because we've established that it was an account 200 years ago, regardless. So I would say that obviously my biggest foundation for the faith, obviously. I know you can guess it. It comes from the Bible. And
that's what we're talking about. We're talking about how the Bible doesn't prove anything either, because that's just circular reasoning.
so we could agree to disagree with that, because
Well, if you disagree with that,
mhm.
would you say that a Hindu could use the Vedas or the Bhagavad Gita or the Upanishads as proof that Hinduism is real? Because
Well,
those
they would
books,
have to
those
prove that
texts say that Hinduism is real.
yeah, they would have to prove that the words, because Muslims could say the same thing, right? And I know that a lot of their faith, a lot of the words from the Quran, and a lot of the words from the Bible, the stories or the accounts or whatever, some of them are pretty similar, right? So I would say that when we have any writing or any text of any kind, especially religious ones, because these are usually things that people objectively base their lives on, we need to look at the essence of those words and to make sure they're not just rambling on it, they're not just fairy tales and stuff like that, right?
So
So
why should we believe that the tales in the Bible are anything more than just tales when they're
right,
not supported by anything outside of the
so
text?
yeah, we explore the evidence, or we explore the claims, right? So there are
Right.
certain prophecies, right? And I know that stating prophecies from the Old Testament into the New may not mean much to you, because obviously you don't believe in the Bible. But what about the prophecies that have actively been fulfilled in the natural world? Like there's a prophecy, can't remember which book it came from, but it talks about I think it's Babylon, or one of those states, yeah, Babylon, or one of those places being um in exile or in desolation, never to be inhabited again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you know what a self-fulfilling prophecy is?
Self-fulfilling?
Yeah.
I probably know what it is. I don't know. I'm not familiar with it. Never heard.
Sure. So I'll give you an example of a good self-fulfilling prophecy, right? In Islam, there's a belief that the passage in the Quran that claims there will be skyscrapers in the desert is prophetic, right? This is an example of like Muhammad said, oh, that in this part of the desert there'll be skyscrapers one day. That's how you'll be able to know in the future that I was the prophet, because I predicted this thing happening. The thing is, if you just say something like that, you've then just created a target for other people to go and aim at.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? So like when the Bible says similar things, it says this is going to happen or this is not going to happen. It's just creating goals for people to pursue. There's no need whatsoever to jump to the conclusion that these predictions were made by people who were speaking to God or anything. Like you or I, we can make a claim about something that will happen in the future, and it might even come true. And it's more likely to come true if it's something that's just like already likely to happen as well anyway, right? Like the reality is that empires rise and fall, cities are built and destroyed. You don't have to have God whispering in your ear saying, this city's going to be destroyed. Like that's not, there's no reason to jump to an irrational conclusion about that claim that, God told them that was going to happen. It's just not necessary. You'd be doing the same thing that a Muslim's doing when they point at all of the skyscrapers in like Dubai and they say, look, that proves that Muhammad was the prophet because we've got skyscrapers in Dubai.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from with the fulfilled prophecy. But okay, what about if another prophecy, which is to come to pass, hasn't? Would you claim that to be a self-fulfilled prophecy as well?
What did you say? Sorry.
It's okay. So I'm saying that I understand. I can see where you're coming from with the self-fulfilled prophetical claims. But what if, let's say, just hypothetically speaking, right? If a prophecy that is yet to come to pass came to pass, and you would have seen it for yourself, would you make the claim that, oh, this is just a self-fulfilled prophecy?
Well, it depends on the kind of prophecy, right? Like if it's something, the problem with the prophecies in the Bible overall is that they've either not actually come true if you look at the original texts and you take the original translations into account and not just these, interpolations and interpretations that we've invented over time. They haven't actually occurred. Or they describe something that is just likely to happen over time anyway, or they're self-fulfilling, or they were written into the Bible after the event actually occurred historically. There's not a single quote-unquote prophecy in the Bible that doesn't fit in at least one of those categories.
Okay.
Do you know, and the same thing goes for the Quran and the Hadith. The same thing goes for the Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita. There's not a single prophecy made in any religious texts around the globe that can only be explained by divine revelation. There are rational explanations for why this book or that book says this, and we see that happening in reality, such that we don't need to jump to any irrational conclusions. And where there is a rational explanation for something, an irrational conclusion does not need to be jumped to.
Okay. Okay.
You know?
Yeah, I see where you're coming from, but like I said, we would have to agree to disagree on that, because I don't believe that the Bible is just tales or fairy tales, and I don't believe that they are words without essence, because as you said, there are things that, I'm paraphrasing, right? There are things that we see in the life that we live today that are affirmed or spoken of within the Bible, which was written thousands of years after the fact.
Could you give me an example?
Okay, so are you familiar with Proverbs and the life values within it?
The pardon?
Are you familiar with the Proverbs? Proverbs.
Which one?
Proverbs in general. Yeah, Proverbs.
Roughly, yeah.
Right. So
not like by memory, no.
Yeah, that's okay. So I'm saying that, I'm asking that because I'm just speaking about life in general, right? There are a lot of life values, family values, um, financial values, a lot of things in there. And I saw someone in the live say it earlier. They said it it was a text written so the people of that time could understand creation and science around them. So a lot of things, one thing that we know for sure is that culture changes over time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of things, so nothing is new under the sun. We know that things we see here, some of the things we see here, to be fair, we've had them thousands of years ago, right?
No.
Generally speaking, religion aside.
No, that's not true. That's not true at all, though. I mean, we have no reason to believe that we've always had access to virtual reality headsets and smartphones and electric cars and stuff.
Things.
Well, what you said is that nothing is new under the sun.
Right. Nothing
and
is
that's an absolute statement. You're saying nothing is new under the sun, meaning that everything has always been here. And that's just not true.
Well, what is virtual reality based on?
You mean like a virtual reality headset?
Well, that's the example you use. So I'm asking you, what is the example you just used, what is that based on?
Well, it's based on like audio-visual technology that's built into a headset that you put over your head, and it's hooked up via like Bluetooth, I guess, or Wi-Fi or something.
I guess we didn't have headsets.
Pardon?
Yeah. So yes. So we didn't have headsets, or we didn't have games like video games hundreds of years ago, but we had music, we had regular games. Things progress over time because culture does change. But what I'm saying is that even with the scriptures, right, even with the different cultures that it would have been set in, because it has gone through lots of cultures, it's still applicable today. I know that, not everyone has to believe in it, and I get that, but I'm saying that it does not, how to put it, it does not contradict regular living and regular life.
Well, I mean, that's kind of life that someone's living, like I'm sure that there will be things in the Bible that you like. I don't like the sound of. They don't apply to my life, right? I mean, I could say,
I'm not sure if you're hearing me.
Deuteronomy, where it says that if my daughter, if she's graped while she's still a virgin, then I've essentially got to sell her to her grapist, and they have to marry, and they're never allowed to divorce. Well,
so I'm not hearing you.
Give that. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I apologize. Thank you everyone in the chat for letting me know. I'll say that again. I mean, it might be the case that there are things in this text that feel applicable to you, but I mean, I could think of all kinds of things they're not applicable to me whatsoever. Like there's that passage in Deuteronomy that says that if my daughter is graped while she's still a virgin, then I essentially have to sell her to her grapist so that they can marry, and they're never allowed to divorce. That's terrible advice. That doesn't apply to me. I don't think it should apply to anyone. I think anyone should follow that.
I don't think that applies to anyone, because we're not blood Israelites, and we're not a part of that. But I'm saying, in terms of moral,
are you saying that God's laws change over time?
I'm not saying that God's laws change, but I'm saying that I'm sure that you're familiar with Levitical law, Deuteronomical law, and moral law. Are you or are you not?
Well, yeah. And what I'm saying is that, like, do you think that the God you believe in is unchanging, and that their morality is objective and all that kind of thing?
Yeah, I believe that morality is objective.
As prescribed by Yahweh.
I believe morality is objective, and I also believe that, no offense to you, that people do this quite a lot, because I've spoken to a lot of persons. They they drift, and they pinpoint these specific stuff, knowing, especially you as an ex-Christian, knowing that there are ceremonial, Levitical, Deuteronomical laws, etc.
Well, no, that's the thing, is that they were given to God's people by God, correct?
For that time and that culture, correct?
Yeah. So do you think that it was a good thing that
No.
he commanded that of the people?
No, I don't think that grape is ever a good thing. And I don't think that God thinks grape is a good thing either.
No, I'm not saying that God thinks grape is a good thing either, although he does instruct the Israelites to take sex slaves a couple of times, but we can talk about that later if you like.
That's fine.
It's not really the point, though. The point is that, like, you just said that you don't think. Bree, this is really important. You just said that you don't think that something that God thinks is right. You actually disagree with God's morality.
Grape is right, and I don't think God thinks it's right either. That's what I said. But
well, I mean, God graped Mary. He impregnated her without consent. He did that himself, right?
Can I pull up that scripture for you, since that's a misconception? Because you said without consent, right? So,
I mean, she was 14. She was 14, right? Like, do you think that was a good thing?
Where did this claim come from that I've been hearing? She was 14. Where did it come from?
Do you think she wasn't 14?
Where did it come from?
Where do you say that she wasn't 14?
Where did the claim come from? Since we want to be disrespectful, where did the claim come from?
It's not disrespectful. This
Yeah,
is the
because I
thing.
don't
Like, if
subscribe.
I could say the same thing, and I think it's extremely disrespectful of God to
You
command that we
just
sell. But
saying
Bree,
that
Bree,
he
Bree, listen,
okay,
listen, listen,
just
Bree,
because I
Bree,
believe I'm saying
Bree,
that
Bree.
great
All due respect, Bree.
okay.
All due respect, Bree. I think it's extremely disrespectful of Yahweh to command that we sell our essayed daughters
Oh boy.
to their
You
grapists.
are not respectful act so well. But it was nice talking to you, Daniel. Take care.
Okay, all right. Look, I had a great time. I feel like you were polite, and
I had a great
I'm
time
only
to
ever
you
saying anything that I
being
really mean.
disrespectful.
I think
Yeah.
it is. Pardon?
I said I had a great time too until you started being disrespectful. But I'm gonna run, like
No,
your comment
it's
said. I'm gonna
Brie.
run.
It's not disrespectful of me to say that I think it's
I'm
disgusting
gonna
of God
run.
to
I,
Brie. It's not disrespectful of me to say that I think it's disgusting of God to command that we
asked you
sell
to
our
at
Brie,
this scripture
Brie,
because you said that God
Brie.
said,
If you're
okay,
gonna
let me ask
continue,
you this,
if you're
right?
gonna continue speaking over me, I'm just gonna mute
Yeah,
you.
can you put me? I've been asking you to do that. Bye.
Okay, all right. It's all good. You can leave if you like. All right. See you, Brie. Let's get some love in the chat for Brie. I I don't believe that it's disrespectful of me to state that I think it's disgusting of Yahweh to command that we sell our daughters to their abusers. I think that's disrespectful of him to command of us. You can feel as though it's disrespectful of me to point that out. That's just a matter of taste, isn't it? I mean, a Muslim could say it's disrespectful of me to accuse Allah of being violent and cruel when he commands that we amputate the hand of anyone who commits any sort of theft. A Muslim can feel like that's disrespectful of me. That's fine. They're likely to feel that way, but that's just my opinion. My opinion is that it's disgusting. That's not disrespect. That's me just taking issue with a command. I don't have to just like lay down and take it from God. You know, even if God's real, even if God actually turns out to be real, which we have, again, no proof is the case. Even if it turns out that God is real, I still don't have to agree with what they think is right and wrong. According to the Bible, Yahweh thinks that it's a good thing to slaughter children and infants. He thinks that it's a good thing. Oh, that's better. He thinks that it's a good thing that we are able to beat our slaves so long as they can get back to work within 2 days. You know, he thinks that it's a good thing that we're punished for eternity if we're not convinced he even exists. Like, I'm allowed to disagree with, even if God is real, I'm allowed to disagree with all sorts of things that he thinks. If God exists and the Bible is accurate in its description of God, I disagree with just about everything that God does. I think God's awful. I think God is violent, manipulative, cruel, lazy, racist, misogynistic bully. Like I don't have to. I don't have to just submit to God. There we go. All right. I have got time. Oh, here we go. We'll have a quick little chat to Zed. Let's get some love in the chat for Zed, one of our nodes in the network. Zed, it's wonderful to have you. I might only have you for a couple of minutes because there are some other people in the queue that I think are religious, but it's wonderful to have you up. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm so well. Thank you so much. What's on your mind? What are you thinking?
All kinds of things with this live. It's been interesting.
I agree.
Hi to everyone in the chat. I thought the reaction of the last guest was interesting.
Yes.
And I think the disrespect that she referred to was like disrespect towards God,
Perhaps,
I think.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know, as an agnostic atheist, you have no responsibility to respect God.
No. I mean, it's like me having to respect Santa. You know, like,
Yeah.
I think I'll comfortably say I think Santa's a creep if he's constantly watching children. Right? If Santa is just constantly watching our children, I have no respect for that. He needs to mind his own business. He should probably, honestly, he should probably be arrested. And I can say that very comfortably, not just because I don't think he's real, but because I have my own moral compass, which we all do. You know, I follow my moral compass the same way you follow yours, in the same way that Bree follows hers, and etc. etc. Right? Like, it's not any different for me to say of Yahweh that I think he is violent and cruel, because the Bible describes a God who, for example, commands the slaughter of children and infants. I personally believe that that is violent and cruel. There's no disrespect there. That's just a statement of my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, if God of the Bible is real, I have no problem disrespecting him. If I come face to face with him, I'll tell him to kiss my ass. Like,
I could not be happier than to do that. You know, that's one of my. When I started doing these lives, I had to zero in on what my goals were here. And one of the things that I really wanted to help people do was to get to a point where they were comfortable enough that they could say to God, if it turns out that he is real, that he can go fuck himself. Like, he has earned zero respect from me. The decisions that he has made, apparently over and over again, the kind of world that he has forced us, the most vulnerable of us, to try to survive in as well, and the way that he punishes people for not being able to lie to themselves into believing that he exists. Thank you, Sim. Thank you so much. Let's get some love in the chat for Sim. That's huge. Amazing of you. I just cannot find it in myself to respect an entity that would do any of that stuff. Right? And even if it were that at the pearly gates I were given the choice to either just like repent right there on the spot and get into heaven, or to stand my ground and have some integrity and say, no, I'm sorry, I think that you're an asshole. I want nothing to do with you. I would still say that. I would still rather an eternity of hell over an eternity of having anything to do with Yahweh. And to hear you say that right now, that hits different. I'm so glad.
yeah, as someone raised atheist, it's sort of unthinkable to me to like dedicate my life to something that has no evidence or very little convincing evidence.
Yeah.
And when people just claim to be sure, it blows my mind. I can't understand it.
Indoctrination is the answer. Emotional manipulation is the answer. And it's pretty serious, isn't it? You know. But when you're in the cult, you don't realize you're in the cult. That's the trick, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, my brother is sending his son to Catholic school, and I'm just a little concerned about that.
Got it. It does
like
depend.
There's gonna, I think there's gonna be some unlearning to do,
Potentially.
You know, letting them know it's fine to get the nice things from it, but like it's just pretend.
Yeah. I think it's likely that I'll be sending my daughter to a religious school, largely just because of how much better funded they are, you know, and that the resources that will be made available to her, the standard of education that is then afforded to her because of all the resources that these teachers have at their disposal, as furious as it makes me, that's the system that we're stuck with, right? Is that the privilege the privilege is stacked in favor of these religious schools, but I also see some benefit to it, right? Like the reality is that whether my daughter goes to a religious school or not, she's still going to be surrounded by religious people, right? There is roughly half the population. Every second person, more or less, depending on where you live, obviously, but every second person, at least in the Western world, is likely to be religious in some way, right? And I see value in her being around people who believe things that are not true, so she can see the effect that it has on people, so that when it comes time to step into the adult world, she's already kind of like experienced being around people who believe myths, and she can see how it affects their behavior and the way they speak to people and what they think is right and wrong and that kind of thing. You know, I think it's very frustrating that it's likely she'll get a more thorough education by going somewhere like that. But you know, got to look at the 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 light, the bright side of it. You know what I mean? It's tricky.
Yeah, it's the same here, that the religious schools are better funded, and it's just the reality of it.
It's infuriating. It drives me crazy.
Yeah, it really is. Anyway, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know you probably have other people in the guest box.
This was so nice, though. I loved chatting with you for a moment.
Yeah.
I do love the sub only. Excuse me. I do love the sub only chats at the very end, but this is a bit different. It's really nice to talk to you. Nice to put a voice to the name. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Thanks so much for talking with me.
You're totally welcome, and thank you, obviously, for your patronage too. It's just mind blowing to me.
Of course, you're great. I love what you're doing, and I think it's really important, like the way, you know, especially Christianity affects so much, especially the West, like all the laws and everything that's happening right now. It's really crazy. So I think you're doing really, really important work, and I appreciate it.
It's really, really crazy. I agree. Such kind words. Thank you so much. Let's get some love for Zed in the chat. I really appreciate that. It's lovely to talk to you.
All right. Thanks so much.
Take care. God bless. Love that. It's nice to get, you know, a nice little 5-10 minute chat with a sub in there every now and then. I do like that. Thank you for being a supporter for so long too, Zed. It's just, like I said, it's just amazing to me. I can afford to have like a super quick kind of 10-minute chat with Randall Stokes. Randall, how you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good. Yeah, I'm good. Thank you so much for your time, man.
Yeah,
are
sure.
you Christian?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Man, I've been. Oh yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I'm just opening up with, why should I be afraid of hell?
Well, because everything we enjoy on this planet is given by God, so hell is the entire opposite. So
How
it
do
has
you know that?
Well, I mean, I believe what the word says in the Bible.
Why?
Because it's true.
How do you know that?
It literally shows us why the world is the way it is.
What do you mean?
Okay, so let's go down back in time, right? We know why, we do bad things, right? Because we're aware of this knowledge that we have the knowledge to do either good and bad. And that came from the Garden of Eden.
Well, that's what a Christian believes, yes, but that doesn't mean that it's true.
I mean, other religions, they don't really, dive deep into this, right?
They do.
Where did our knowledge of good and evil come from?
Depending on the theology, the mythology, and the religion, there's a different answer.
Yeah, but like, I'm not familiar with, like, the Hindu. Do you know that?
Oh, well, this is a problem then, Randall, because you just came up and accused every other religion of never having touched this subject matter when you don't actually know.
Well, I know, like, they don't explain, like, the little snippets. Like, for example, why is it that humans have a lifespan of 120 years? But the Bible clearly tells us why that is.
We don't have any archaeological evidence. Hey, thank you so much. Thank you. Look at that. Yeehaw! We don't have any paleontological evidence of people on average living for like 120. What we have evidence of is that over the course of history, our lifespan, the average lifespan, has been steadily increasing. For most of human history, the average lifespan has been like 30 to 35 years old.
I mean, that's not true, because if that was the case, then how are we at a billion population? Doesn't make any sense. Well,
we keep having babies, man. That's how the population grows.
No, but depending on how, like, old you think this world is, I bet you say it's a billion years old, right?
With this planet or this universe?
Like humans.
No. The Homo sapiens species has not existed for a billion years.
So how many years?
So conservatively speaking, about 150,000, but many paleontologists and geneticists agree it's somewhere between 150 and 200,000 years. The emergence of the Homo sapiens line.
Let's go with that. So if it's a 250,000 years, if you do the math, will be more than 6 billion or 8 billion as far as the population is right now.
No, that's not how it works. So, like, the population doesn't just steadily increase as though nothing has ever affected. Randall, when you're speaking, I'm basically letting you get your whole point out. So I asked you to do the same.
I'm sorry.
The population of the population of the Homo sapiens species hasn't just like steadily increased without there being any kind of obstacle or event along the way that has impacted it significantly. That's just not how history's panned out. Like, we've had all kinds of pandemics over the course of history, not just COVID. Like, pandemics have decimated human population over here and then over there and then over here over the course of human history, right? So like genocides occur, entire people groups are wiped out. We experience huge shifts in the stability of our environment. Natural disasters occur which wipe out tens of thousands of people at this point in time and that point in time. It's just not the case that the population of humanity has just been going in a straight line. If it were the case, then you would see this exponential increase, and it's just not like that. We see this gradual, and then we see a spike in modern times, right? Because of what we've discovered by way of modern medicine. The average lifespan now is so much higher because we have, number one, we have dentists. For one, like, a lot of people don't realize this, but one of the most common causes for death in the 30s was infection of the teeth that took root and traveled to the brain, and people just die because they can no longer eat, and they get brain infections as well. That's not something that most of us have to worry about anymore because we have modern dentistry. Like, modern dentistry alone has done wonders for the average lifespan of most human beings.
Can I ask you a question? Do you believe humanity spanned from one man and one woman? Like, what's your take on that?
No, that's not how it works. So, like, over the course of time, sorry, I'm very close to finishing this Rubik's Cube.
Oh, the Rubik's Cube?
Over the course of evolution, we see these, excuse me, we see these gradual transitions from one species to another. It's not the case, like something that a lot of religious people are told about evolution that's just not true, is that evolutionary biologists are claiming that at some point gorillas gave birth to the first humans, and then that's just where humanity has come from. From generation to generations, in characteristics are inherited, right? So, like, for example, my daughter, she's slightly different to both myself and my partner, right? She's not identical to either of us. No child ever has been identical to either one of their parents, right? Over the course of time, so over the course of many slight variations, right? She's not identical to either of us. No child ever has been identical to either one of their parents, right? Right? It's why we get things like, you know, it wasn't the case that there was some animal before the giraffe that all of a sudden gave birth to this animal with a neck that was like 20 times longer than its mum or dad's neck. What happened was offspring inherited slightly longer necks for whatever reason.
Well, bro,
right?
can I?
And then over the course of time, these animals, these individuals, sorry, that had like a longer neck, they had a bit of an advantage over the rest of their generation. They could reach leaves that no one else could, so there wasn't as much competition. They could live longer and have more babies. And so what do you know? The genes for longer and longer necks is inherited over time. And now we have giraffes that have necks that are like 10 meters, well, not 10 meters long,
Can I?
but like, 5-6 meters long. It's not the case that species come immediately from some other species. Over the course of time, there is so much divergence that we end up with species that can no longer interbreed with other divergent species.
So the problem I have with evolution is they claim that every species comes from one source, right? Because that's the
far
only
back
way.
enough. Yes, we're
Yeah,
talking
so-
we're talking like billions of years ago here.
Yeah. Anyways, I don't believe the Earth is that old, but
Why not?
no, I just don't believe it. So
Why not?
if you why not? Because it's not true.
How do you
I,
know?
I gave you an example with the population thing, but
How do you know that it's not true though?
how do I know? Evidence. Evidence.
What kind of evidence do you have that supports that it's not that old?
I'm just talking about like the human population, right? The human population is 8 billion. If the Earth is
We've already been
billion
over that though.
old, huh?
We've already been over that though, man.
No, I know, but I'm just telling like why I believe, what I believe, right? Because you
Yeah,
asked.
but we've already been over that reason doesn't make sense.
But again, like you keep saying, like it doesn't make sense. But if you have, if the Earth is like 4 billion years old and humans have been existing, this world will be so overpopulated. There's absolutely no way that we can even sustain ourselves.
We just went over this, man. We've already been over this one.
All right, let's move on. So I was talking about the speciation thing, right?
Yeah,
and
then you were saying that you don't think that this world is
because
like this planet is billions of years old, and then I asked why.
And then I explained.
Why don't you believe that? And you said because of evidence, and I said, well, what evidence? And you said, well, because of the population. And number one, that's a non sequitur. And number two, we've already been over that. and we've already been over why it doesn't make sense to believe that the population can't currently be what it is if Homo sapiens have only existed for 200,000 years.
But
so do you have a different reason? Do you have another reason for why
no,
the world can't be that old?
I do have other reasons, but I think that's my strongest, evidence for that.
Okay.
So,
well, given that it doesn't make sense, do you now accept that?
No, it doesn't. It still it makes sense to me. It might not make sense to you, but
it doesn't make objective sense, but you're going to accept it anyway.
I'm saying it doesn't make sense to you, but it makes sense to me.
Well, no, it doesn't make. Like
To
you
you.
believe it, you believe that. Yeah.
No, I don't
but
believe
it. Doesn't
it.
make, it's kind of like
evidence
Randall.
to me.
If a child says it makes sense to me that Santa is real, does that mean that it actually makes sense to believe in Santa?
No.
No, that's right. Because the claims surrounding Santa are nonsensical.
Yeah, just like when you say you believe in evolution, it doesn't make sense to me because I think it's just ridiculous, but it makes sense to you, right? So everyone
got
got
an argument from incredulity is?
A what?
An argument from incredulity. Have you heard of that before?
I've not really.
It basically boils down to I can't understand how that works, therefore it's not true.
Nope, it's not.
Right? So it's kind of like do you know how to do calculus?
I did that when I was back in college. Yeah.
You did calculus. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
But you don't understand evolution. Interesting. So you understand that calculus makes sense to people who have studied it and practiced it, right? I mean, I haven't done that. I haven't studied calculus. But imagine if I said, I don't understand calculus, therefore it doesn't make sense. Does that make any sense at all? Like, I understand if evolution is a little complex for you at the moment, because it can be complex. In some ways it's difficult to fully grasp what's going on. I don't know if you accidentally muted yourself, or I'm not sure.
Hey, sorry, man. No, I got a call. Sorry. Keep going.
No stress. It's all good. Like, if you don't understand the process of evolution by way of natural selection and genetic inheritance, I believe you.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it takes a little bit of study to actually understand the mechanisms by which genes are inherited and then expressed, and how they give some individuals an advantage over the rest of their generation, and how that advantage leads to them being able to have more kids than everyone else, and eventually flooding the gene pool with the traits that gave them the advantage in the first place. And then you find gradual speciation over time. If you don't understand that, that's okay. Like, it's a little complex.
No, I do understand evolution, but I'm saying that's not possible.
But we literally observe it still happening.
Yeah, but I'm saying do we see another species? You do realize that every animals, they're all different, So
No.
So
they're not all different.
I guess
we can make clones of animals that have the same genetic material.
Make clones? What are you talking about?
We've cloned animals before, right?
I've not done the research on that, but
yeah, we cloned. I think we cloned the first sheep a few decades ago.
Clone?
Yeah, like a genetic clone of its mother. I think it was identical to its mother.
Bro, what are you talking about? I need
Dolly,
to do stuff.
Dolly the sheep. You can look up Dolly the sheep.
Dolly the sheep. Okay, but why is it that you believe humans are animals, right?
We are. Yeah.
So are we like apes or something?
We're technically great apes. Yeah, there are a couple of different. There's a couple of different categories of ape. We're part of the great ape family.
So why is it that humans dominate this earth, not the apes?
Sure, predominantly it's because of the size of our frontal lobe, right? So the front roughly third of our brain.
Okay.
Well, I'm explaining to you, man.
Yeah.
The front, like roughly, if you kind of look at your brain from side on, it's roughly the front third of it. Ours is way larger than even the next most developed frontal lobe in the animal kingdom, right? This part of the brain up the front, this is what allows us to perform tasks like planning ahead. It's what allows us to do things like empathize. So imagine how someone else might be feeling. It allows us to shift perspectives on things. You know, we can take in information, reflect on it, and then change our opinions in accordance with it. It helps us to recognize and identify like tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of faces as being different from one another. It gives us advanced memory. Like the frontal lobe of the human brain is like nothing else in the animal kingdom. It's incredible. And you couple that with the fact that we have opposable thumbs, so thumbs that go in the opposite direction to the rest of our fingers, and how much of our prefrontal cortex is dedicated to our dexterity. We have these super powerful brains, and we have these highly dexterous limbs, and we've inherited skeletons that are really flexible and mobile and strong. So we're just like, we've inherited over time more and more well-adapted anatomy for dealing with whatever it is in the environment we want to do, or whatever problem we've got to solve. And it's amazing.
We became the best of the best, correct?
No, that's not true. We're the best at lots of things, but we're not the best at everything.
But again, we dominate this earth, right? Not the other animals.
Well,
so
I mean, that depends. Like you could say, like what qualifies domination? Would you say it's population?
Not population. We're superior in intelligence. We literally can eradicate animals if we choose to. So we are the dominant force on this planet. Are you saying that because we have this frontal thing, like our brain is bigger, that is not making any sense?
Well, because that's okay. If you don't understand it, that's all right.
No, I know.
The thing is also that we also have the largest brain relative to our overall body mass as well, right? There's no other animal that's brain is as big compared to the rest of its body, right? Like if you look at a whale, whales have a bigger brain than us, but compared to the overall size of their body, the ratio is much, much lower. And what we see in the animal kingdom is that the higher the ratio between the cortical mass, so how much mass there is in your brain, and how big your body is, the more adept you are at solving problems in your environment.
But it doesn't still explain the fact why we dominate. You know, you just proved that there was a designer that made humans this way.
No.
You do know that.
Again, this is what evolution, this is what the fossil record supports too, is that we didn't always have this. Over time, I mean, it's actually not, it's not only a good thing. It actually has led to an increased rate of death in childbirth, because our skull is so big so early on in our development that a lot of the time babies get stuck, and the mother and the child dies. Over the course of history, the mother and the child dies.
It's the same thing
especially
with the animals.
As we've started walking upright. The average hips have gotten narrower and narrower.
Bro, it's same with the animals. Have you seen animals put to bed? Like they struggle as well. Some of them don't make it. So what are you saying?
That's right. But as we've
same
gradually
thing,
over time, our species has relied on walking upright more and more commonly. And because of the angle that has tilted our pelvis on, it's led to an increased rate of death in childbirth for both the mother and the child. And this is still happening. That, like, without medical intervention these days, man, the rates of death during childbirth would be absolutely enormous. Like my daughter, we had needed intervention. If it weren't for medical intervention, she wouldn't have survived. And that's partly because of the way that she, kind of like the angle that she got on, right? It wasn't coming straight out. And that's partly because of the shape of my partner's pelvis, which is not uncommon. It's like you've got the same shaped pelvis as just about everyone else, but the rates of death in childbirth amongst Homo sapiens are huge relative to many other species.
So can you like answer why the world is so not perfect? Why do we have a lot of imperfection?
Well, what do you mean imperfection?
Because that shouldn't be happening, right?
No, it's exactly the world
Why do
is
we have
exactly
pain?
as we would expect it to be if there was no designer. We would
No, I'm
expect
saying
to see things like, you know,
that's not true. Actually,
asymmetry and diseases, and
it's not true. But again, like I'm
I mean,
asking you
you
because
can just say nah if you
no,
want,
no,
but I
it's
mean
not
that's
true.
just a
It's not true.
fact.
It's not true. I'm saying like you don't believe in God, right? So explain to me why there's so much imperfection in this world. Because if you ask
Can
me,
you
I can
give
tell
me
you
an
why.
example of one of those imperfections?
You just said when a woman is put in the bed, there's high chance of her not making it. So why is that?
Because of evolution. Evolution is not like
Okay,
we don't only inherit things that help us. We also inherit things like, congenital diseases and things.
okay.
Like
So
the natural world, it doesn't really care about whether or not a mother dies in childbirth.
wait, when you say natural world, is this nature alive? Can it think for itself? Does it know what it's doing to us?
Sure. So parts of nature, like you and I, and a dog or a kangaroo or an octopus, parts of nature are conscious and intelligent and aware, but other parts of nature, like the sun or rocks or galaxies, we don't have any reason to believe that they have any kind of innate intelligence behind them. No.
Okay,
So
but
intelligence arises um, as a result of a nervous system having formed. So there aren't nervous systems all over the place. Like you have a nervous system because of the way that your DNA has led to a nervous system being built over the course of your development. Do you understand? Like, not everything is conscious. Like this Rubik's Cube, it's not conscious. It's not solving itself, you know?
but you're not explaining to me why we have so much pain in this world. You said evolution. Like if evolution
I'll
alive,
tell you
like
why we
what?
have pain.
Yeah,
We've
why?
got pain is actually a really useful evolutionary adaptation. It lets you know when something dangerous or potentially dangerous is happening to you. Like if you fall asleep next to the fire, it's good that you have pain receptors in your skin to set off the alarm bells. A message is sent from a thermoreceptor in your skin up your spinal cord and into your brain that says the temperature is really, really high on your back. It wakes you up and it makes you move away. It's for survival. Not all pain is necessary. Obviously, there are so many forms of unnecessary suffering.
Yeah, so
Right.
why do we have that? If evolution don't like us, bro, like according to you, like it's useless. What's the meaning? What's the purpose? Is it is it is
There
it
is
is it is
there
it
is
good
no
for
in
you?
pardon
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
the purpose of what?
Of suffering, pain. What is the point?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, like I just told you, it lets us know when something that is potentially harmful to ourselves is happening to us.
So if
That's
I
what
lose
that's what
my
pain
loved
does.
one, if I lose my loved one through like a disease, how does that benefit me? What's the point of that?
It doesn't necessarily benefit you.
So what's the point? That's my question. You
The
can't
point
answer
of
it.
what? The point of
The point
death?
of suffering and pain. Or
There isn't an inherent point to it. I mean, you can choose to interpret or like learn lessons from it. That's what I prefer to do. I think about the things that I've been through in my life that were painful or that led to suffering. I choose to look for like a silver lining if possible. I try to look for a lesson you know, don't do this again, or maybe next time do this differently, or, you know, it might help me to empathize with someone else better because now I've been through something similar to what they've been through. I can understand it a bit clearer, that kind of thing. You know, there is no inherent purpose or
So it's
meaning
useless.
behind any of this, as far as we can tell. You
So
can
our
choose
lives are
to.
meaningless and
Pardon?
useless. That's our lives are useless and meaningless. That's just the conclusion here. We
No,
have no purpose being on this planet.
no, that's not true. I mean, your purpose, biologically speaking, is to pass on your genetic material.
What if I don't want to?
You don't have to.
What if I can't? So it's still useless.
You don't have to. That's fine.
Yeah, but I'm saying, what if I can't do it? So I'm useless. It's meaningless.
That's not true. There are plenty of people who don't have kids that contribute to society.
But I'm saying, like, if you're gonna be unalive at the end of the day, what's the point?
To experience this right here, right now.
Well, you
I mean,
stop
like, well,
existing.
let
after
me
this life, right?
ask you this, Randall. When you're watching a movie, you know it's going to end, right?
Yes,
So do you just put it on fast forward and let it get done quicker?
that's a different scenario.
No. Answer the question.
No, I don't.
Yeah, you sit there and you take the experience in. So like this right here, right now, your nervous system is generating something called consciousness, right? It's amazing. We're still studying it. It's incredible. We don't understand every mechanism behind it, but we understand a hell of a lot more than we did even like 20 years ago. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You are experiencing something right now. It could be a dream. You know, you might be dreaming right now.
What?
It could be a hallucination. You could actually be in a mental asylum, and right now this is just a hallucination. You could be plugged into the matrix, and this is all a simulation, and you just don't know it yet. I don't believe any of those things. I don't believe any of those things are true, right? But you can't prove that they're not. Either way, you're experiencing something right now, aren't you?
I'm experiencing being alive.
Exactly, yeah. As far as you can tell, and that's what I believe too. I'm convinced that we're experiencing something right now.
Wait. You don't believe in the simulation and all that thing you just said, right?
I just said I don't believe those things are actually happening.
Okay.
But the thing is, man, you can't prove that they're not happening. The point being, either way, you're experiencing something right now, correct?
Hey, your audience say you're blowing my mind. No, you don't.
I don't care if this isn't blowing your mind. I don't care.
Like, no. I know. I'm just like, it just cracked me up a little bit, man. So I know what diverted from, the topic. Can we get back to the topic? Sorry, I don't want to. I just want to get your perspective.
I'm just following your lead. If you want to go back to the topic, we can go back.
Yeah. So
so far, I asked, why should I be afraid of hell?
Yeah.
And you said, well, because the Bible says so. And I said, well, why should I believe the Bible's accurate? And then you said, well, I mean, because it says so. And I'm saying, well, that doesn't make any sense. Like, a book saying that something is true doesn't make it true. You understand?
Got it.
Yeah. So why should I be afraid of hell?
Well, you just said you don't believe in it, right? So there's no point of you being afraid of it. But again, when you get on live, you're gonna see reality. So that's all I can tell you. You know,
as far as we can tell, that's not true. I mean, do you remember what it was like before you were born?
No, but obviously, when you get on live, you keep living. So it's not the end of the road, buddy.
That's not obvious at all. That's what you believe. But believing something is true doesn't mean that it's true.
All right, so I guess you believe the life ends here. Your existence ends here, correct?
As far as we can tell, you start experiencing once your nervous system develops to a certain point, right? Before that, you're not experiencing anything, right? Like, your nervous system doesn't exist before it exists. You get it? Like, when you're developing in your mother's womb, your nervous system it's very slowly developing to the point where it starts recognizing sound.
But you have a soul.
And then it's very... Well, hold on, man. I'm trying to explain something to you, and you're jumping to another superstitious claim when I'm still
I'm just
explaining
saying.
something to you.
I'm just saying, like, you do have a soul that drives the body.
We
That's
don't
why.
have evidence of that.
That's why. Okay, let me ask you, like, when someone gets unalive, like, if you lose a lot of blood, right?
Yeah.
Why don't you just pump blood back into the body after maybe a month, and the person comes back to life? It doesn't happen, right?
No,
So
because the cells in that person's body have already started decaying by that point, and
what if we
pumping
regenerate that?
blood back. No, that's the thing, mate. We don't have the technology yet to do that.
Right. Or it's not possible, because why? Something left the body.
It might not be impossible. We just haven't figured that out yet.
All right,
That's the thing. Like a long time ago, people believed that it was impossible to revive anyone, right? But then we learned that, well, there are some causes of death that can actually be reversed, right? Like if someone technically dies from certain kinds of cardiac arrest, you can defibrillate them and bring them back to life. Do you understand? But a long time ago, we didn't think that was possible. May it be possible in the future to bring people back from being dead after like a week or something? Maybe. We don't know.
You telling me, bro? You don't know what you're saying, man. Like, if that is possible, guess what? We will live forever.
Well, maybe. I mean, I don't think that's possible personally. I think that's probably beyond what's likely.
So clearly, you believe something left the body that made it alive.
Yeah, but I don't think it's a soul.
Well, it is a soul, because the soul is part
Randall,
of
Randall, in the example that you gave me, I think what left the body that led to their death is their blood. If you drain someone's blood, that'll kill them.
All right. So what about people that's like get unalive when they sleep? Like, what would you say about that? What left the body then? Some people.
This is why we get. This is why we.
Right.
This is why we get coroners involved, because these are medical professionals that know how to identify the cause of death.
Yeah,
by looking at the body after it's died.
But bro, I slept, didn't wake up. What happened? And you can't wake me up. Something left the body.
That's right. And depending on what the coroner finds, Randall, depending on what the coroner finds, the cause is yet to be determined, right? Like children die because of something called SIDS all the time. And what we end up determining through, a coroner's exam is what exactly happened. It could be that they, there was something actually across their throat that was stopping them from breathing, or they had too much pressure on a particular vein or artery and it caused a clot or arrhythmia, or it could be that, they ingested something before going to sleep that was actually toxic to them, and that's what caused their death in their sleep. There's just and we have ways of telling what it was that killed someone, or that led to someone's unalivement. Like we don't like these. I don't know if you know this, but these days we don't just have no idea how people die. Like we have ways of telling what someone's cause.
I never said that. I never said that. But yet they can't solve the problem, right? Of death. No one can solve it. So if
we just went over this, Randall.
No, I know.
There are some. We've just went over this. There are some forms of death that we have managed to overcome, so long as we're quick.
Well, I mean, you're still gonna die eventually, so they didn't really solve it, right?
But that doesn't mean anything.
But it means something, because clearly someone put a law that states that humans will eventually die one day.
No,
and we can't change that.
Who says that someone decided on that law?
Someone ordained it to be that way, even for the animals. So what do you say?
Why does someone have to ordain that?
Because it cannot just be from an accident or from evolution, like you said. It doesn't make any sense. Everything
makes perfect sense, because as far as we can tell, nothing stays in its form forever. Like even suns burn out. Even planets end up being consumed by
what planet was what planet? Were you there?
Randall, are you suggesting that
what planet
supernova don't occur and that planets are not consumed by supernova?
I'm asking you, what planet, bro?
Look it up.
You don't know, but you're saying it.
No. So these are Do you know what a supernova is, Randall?
I know what that is. I'm telling you what planet got
Randall.
No. I asked you a question.
Randall, what do you think a supernova is?
Bro, I asked you a question, man.
Randall,
You asked me a question back.
Randall, what do you think a supernova is?
You can ask him a question first, bro.
Man, you're throwing terms around that you don't know what they mean. And you're just telling me you know what they mean when I'm not convinced you do. Can you tell me what a supernova is?
You gonna answer my question?
Man, you answer mine first.
No, but I asked you first though. Like, why would you? When I asked you a question,
no. We're not doing this, mate. Do you know what a supernova is?
Up, right? You said it's
do you know what a supernova is, Randall?
You talking about like stars, explosion of the star, something like that?
It took you a while to Google that. I thought that.
No, I didn't Google it, man. I know it, but like you're saying, like I'm actually you observe.
Can I just Randall? How old are you?
I'm 26. I didn't Google it, bro. What are you talking
26. About? Okay, all right. I'll take your word for it. Look, man.
Well, I asked you a question though.
Stars, man. Stars, many stars have planets orbiting them. Okay, stars have a lifespan. When they reach the end of that lifespan, many of them explode outwards, right? And they consume many of the planets closest to them. Okay, that's just a fact of cosmology, right? You know that our sun is going to explode in a few billion years, right?
No, it's not.
Okay, so are you suggesting that? This is great. Are you suggesting? Are you suggesting that all the cosmologists are wrong?
Yeah, they're cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. You heard me right.
Okay, got it.
But, because wait.
So hold on. This is good. This is really good. So cosmologists are wrong. Cosmologists are wrong. But the Bible. Hold on. Cosmologists, people who've been studying our universe in accordance with mathematics and the laws of physics and etc., they're wrong.
Yeah.
About the sun, despite the fact that they have mountains of evidence and even proofs that it's going to occur.
Yeah, in a billion years. Right?
So they're no, in several billion years.
Oh, several, because they're gonna be there, right?
You don't have to be alive in order to be able to accurately predict when something's going to happen. You understand that?
5,000 years ago, if humans would say this, right? Did it happen?
If they say what?
The sun is going to explode. Did it happen?
What evidence would they have to base that claim on?
Well, they studied it, right? They were cosmology, as you said.
No. 5,000 years ago, we did not have cosmology as we do today.
Fine. I'm just giving you an example. If they had said that 5,000 or 5 billion years ago, did it happen? No. So it's all
Randall, at this point,
I'm actually not... crap, man.
Randall, at this point, I'm actually not convinced you're being serious.
I'm serious, bro.
Are you trolling right now?
I'm not trolling. I think you trolling, bro. Because you actually believe this nonsense, man.
You think I'm trolling?
I think you're trolling, man.
Okay, all right, Randall. Here's what's going on.
They predicted something several billions of years.
Hold on, Randall.
Like, how does that make any sense, my guy? Come on,
because
man.
we can with science we can actually make predictions, right, based on principles that we discover through inquiry, right? We can learn about the laws of nature and how they tend to lead to things panning out, right? If we can make calculations based on the things that we discover. Okay, so in the same way that if we know that, the number 2, the number 4, the number 6, the number 8, the number 10, they're all divisible by 2, right? We can extrapolate upon that and we can say, well, everything else that ends in a 2, 4, 6, or 8, or 0, they'll also be divisible by 2. And we can know that based on the laws of mathematics. We don't have to count all the way up to, these 1 million digit long numbers to know that as long as they end in those two, as long as they end in one of those digits, it'll be divisible by 2. They'll be even numbers. We can make similar extrapolations about the natural world based on certain facts that we learn, right? So we know that certain gases burn, or at least undergo fission and fusion or whatever, for certain periods of time, right? And then we can figure out what our sun is made of using other techniques like mass spectroscopy. We can figure out what kind of gases our sun is made of. And then we can figure out, based on its size, how much of these particular gases, predominantly helium and hydrogen, our sun is made of. And then we can say, okay, well, if there's this much of those gases, then it's likely to last this long. It's kind of like how you can know roughly how long you'll be able to drive your car for based on how much fuel you know you can fit in the tank.
So
you can make a calculation about that, can't you?
They're able to predict several billions of years, bro.
That's right.
Are you seeing how this is very not making no sense at all?
This is the thing, man. This is another argument. You know how before we spoke about an argument from incredulity? You know, like you might not understand how the maths behind it works, but that's just you not understanding it. And that's fine. There are lots of people who don't, right? But this is, to be honest, this is actually fairly basic mathematics. Like if you needed to, you could calculate how long your car would be able to keep driving based on how much petrol is left in your tank.
Bro, that's
correct?
Different. That's different.
No, it's the same. It's the same thing, Randall. Randall, it's literally the same thing. It's just on a much larger scale.
It's not.
It literally is, Randall. You can deny it if you like, but that doesn't change the fact. Randall, the point being,
it's like you, right? You know.
No, Randall.
So you know that.
The point being, Randall. The point being, there are scientists who know for a fact that these things are going to occur because the laws of nature dictate that they're going to occur.
Let me tell you.
And hold on. No, listen. This is what's going on here is you're denying that that's the case whilst simultaneously saying that you believe the Bible is accurate.
Oh, yeah.
When it claims things like Jesus walked on water.
Yeah.
Do you see here that the standard of evidence that you require before you believe something is completely absurd?
It is possible.
Man,
you might not believe it. Let me ask you a question. Do you know Jesus?
Why should I believe it?
Wait, hold on. You know Jesus is the most popular man on this world, right?
Randall.
Yeah.
Why should I believe that Jesus walked on water?
Because he actually did.
Yeah, but how do you know that?
Well, I know he was divine, so he could do anything.
How do you know that?
Because witnesses were there that wrote the Bible.
That's actually not true.
Well, I mean, I believe that, so, you know.
Right, that's correct. You believe that. Now, does believing something is true mean that it is true?
For me, yes.
Okay, cool. So if a Muslim believes that Muhammad split the moon, does that mean it happened then?
They're cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs for that one.
Well, anyone could say that you're cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs for the same reason.
Well, obviously, we know that's not possible for Muhammad to split the moon.
Well, in the same way, we know that it's not possible for a person to walk on water.
Well, I mean, even magicians, they could do that. You know that, right? And I know you say it's fake, but I've seen like actual magicians do that.
Yeah, but you understand that they're doing an illusion, correct? There's plexiglass under the surface of the water, or there are posts placed. You understand, like, you've heard of ninjas before?
Ninja Turtle? I'm joking. Yeah, ninjas. I know ninjas.
Right.
Yeah.
So you might not know this, but there was a clan of a literal ninja town, right, where ninjutsu originated, right? And parts of their town were built in the middle of lakes, and the only way you could get to them was by hopping from post to post to post across the water. But the location of the top of the posts was known only to the people who put them there. So to anyone watching these people escape and retreat back to their hideaway, running across the top of the water, right? You might not know how these magic tricks are performed, but they're not real magic, mate.
Well, you do realize that there is actually sorcerers, right, on this earth that do all sort of rituals and magic that actually exists, and people do that to this very day.
No, there are people who
Well,
believe
you don't
that that's the
believe me.
case, but do you know what it means to be gullible? Do you know what the word gullible means?
Oh my god, bro! Come on, man. Why you like?
Do you know what the word gullible means?
No, I don't know. Educate me, please.
Sure. So if you're gullible, it means you're likely to fall for believing something that's not likely to be true. Okay? Or easily tricked, you could say. Another way of describing someone who is gullible is that they're easily tricked.
You from
Right?
Australia?
No, I'm not from Australia.
Oh, you sound Australian. Where you
No,
from?
I'm not Australian. I'm from Iceland.
Iceland. So I guess like maybe you don't see like in your area. Do you?
No, this is no. There's no sorcerers in Iceland.
You're certain of that, right?
Yeah, there's a very small population here. Like
You know everybody.
We pretty much know most of us. Yeah, like the population is quite small.
So you know everybody. You know what they do behind the scenes. You
Not like literally everyone, but most of us know most people. Yeah.
what? Wait, what's the population, man? Sorry, well, I'm just curious. Like, what's the population?
Of Iceland?
Yeah,
Off the top of my head, I can't remember.
I think it's like it's 1 million, right? Like, is it close to 1 million or no?
Not sure. We could Google it now if you like.
Yeah, actually, let me Google it for you, man. Iceland, because you claiming that there's no sorcerers, it's wild. Wait, what?
You claiming that there is wild, but anyway.
Wait, what? Y'all just 382,000? You're going extinct, bro.
That's what I mean, man. Like, there's just not that many of us. Like, we're all pretty familiar with most of us, right? Like, there's just sorcery is not really a thing over here in Iceland.
Yeah, but in other countries, like there's what we call Santeria. If you go to the like Latin America, there's a lot of like cults there, and they literally do magic. So I don't know what.
And they take advantage of gullible people.
Yes. No, they're not. They're actually doing it, bro.
Well, here's the thing, man. Is I'm not from Iceland.
Wait, what?
I've just made that shit up. Like, you just believed me. Do you understand? Like, you are one of the gullible people.
Bro, what are you? Wait, what? Wait, if someone asks you where you from, and I tell you something, obviously I'll think that you're telling the truth.
Why? I sound like an Australian person. Why would I be in Iceland?
No, but again, it could be you immigrated there. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, but that's the thing, is you're just taking my word for it. So like when you read the Bible and it says Jesus walked on water, you're just taking its word for it. Anyone could tell you anything and you just go, oh, okay.
That's not true, actually. I don't take anybody's word for it just like that. I'm not that gullible.
Well, that's the thing, man. If you're doing that with the Bible, then yes, you are. Because the claims in the Bible are not supported by any evidence outside of the Bible. They're just stories in a book.
Bro, if I believe that a divine being made this world, yes, you telling me I'm Delulu for that?
I'm telling you that there's no evidence that that's true. Yes.
But because, well, the evidence is true is creation, but again, you won't believe that.
No,
that's how
circular.
I know.
That's called circular reasoning.
But that's how I know it's true. Right?
Yeah, but that's not knowing that something's true. That's called. Do you know what a logical fallacy is?
Oh my god, man!
You can look it up if you need to. I can hear you clicking around.
No, I'm actually animating, bro.
Animating.
Yeah, I do animate.
So a logical fallacy. Do you or do you not know what a logical fallacy is? You
know what? I've heard about that term multiple times, man.
Good. So you don't know what it is, though?
I think I remember someone saying that kind of like when you have an error in reasoning, something like that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that is exactly what Google says is the definition as well. So congratulations. But a logical fallacy, for example, is saying that the fact the universe exists proves that God does. That's a
Well,
logical. That's a fallacy. That's an error in
it's
your
not a
reasoning.
fallacy because
It
there's an
is.
order to this world. There's an order to the universe. There's an order to the cosmos.
No,
You know that, right?
What we observe is that patterns have emerged in the universe. We don't
What
have
is
evidence.
pattern?
We don't have evidence that those patterns were decided upon by some kind of mind
What is patterns,
outside the
bro?
brain.
What is patterns?
Patterns? Well, let's use your
Yes,
definition. What do you think we should say patterns are?
bro. You see what I'm saying? I ask you a question, you ask me a question back. Come on, man.
I mean, I can tell you, but the thing is that your definitions so far seem to be like
So can
either just Googled,
what?
you've just
Animated.
Googled them.
What are you talking about? I'm doing my work here.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It just seems like every time we ask you for a definition, it takes approximately the amount of time
No,
necessary to
because
open up a tab in Google and then type in what does this word mean, and we can hear you clicking away.
I am animated, bro. For real, I do
Yeah,
animation.
but I'm also not that gullible. I don't just believe things that people tell me
Well,
out
you
of
can look at my
nowhere.
page, man. I'm not lying to you.
Yeah, and that's the thing is you might not be, but differently to you, I require more than just someone making a claim before I believe something. Like if someone just claims to me that 2 + 2 = 5, I'm not going to go, oh, okay then. I'm actually going to go and like see if there's any evidence that supports that before I start believing it, right? That's not something that you can do with the Bible. The
Well,
only evidence of the
yeah.
Bible being accurate is the
Uh-huh.
Bible itself, and that doesn't make any sense.
Well, there are other books like the Book of Jasher, the book of Enoch, but you say it's like, still part of the Bible, sort of, right?
That's correct, yeah. In the same way that you can say the same thing about the Quran, right? Like the Quran says that Muhammad split the moon in half, but there's no evidence outside, no good evidence outside of the Quran that happened. So why should we believe it? Do you see?
You don't have to. I'm not here to convince you though. Like, I'm not here to like tell you should believe or not. But I'm just saying like it is true, and
But why?
when you get unalive, it's not gonna be funny, man. I'm telling you the truth. I know it sounds,
but this is the thing, man, is currently I have no good reason to believe that hell exists. And you're not giving me any reason to believe it either. You're just telling me what you believe, but you're not giving me any evidence that supports it.
You've heard of NDE experiences, right? Like from people.
Near-death experiences, yes, that's right.
So
they don't prove anything.
well, I mean, that's what you say, but if you look at the stories of all of them, they all point out that there's still life after this world.
No, they don't. What they do is they demonstrate that the human brain continues to generate experience even after the body has died clinically.
I give you like 75 sources of people saying that you keep living after this life.
Yeah, that's right. But that's the same kind of evidence as having someone telling me that they had a dream that 2 + 2 = 5, and therefore 2 + 2 = 5.
That's what I'm saying. Like Jesus said this, right? Even if people was to resurrect from the dead and come to you and tell you, hey, listen, man, hell exists, you're still not going to believe. The Bible predicted this kind of behavior from humanity.
Well, this is the thing, Randall. If
right?
God's all-knowing,
yes,
you probably believe that he is.
Oh, yeah, definitely 100%.
Even though the Bible doesn't say that.
Well, he predicted the future. So I don't know what he said. He said he said the beginning and he said the end. He told us how the end will be. So I don't know what you're saying. He doesn't know.
The book says that he does, but
Revelation.
Again, the Bible is mythology. Do you understand?
No, it's not.
In the same way that the Quran is Muslim mythology, the Bible is Christian mythology.
You were saying something about God all-knowing. Keep going.
Sure. So, like, you believe that God is all-knowing, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Even though, again, the Bible doesn't really say that very clearly. And you believe probably that God is also all-powerful, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Again, the Bible doesn't really, it's not clear on that, but most people believe that.
No one is like God. He says in the Bible, so I don't know what he's saying. But keep going.
That doesn't matter though. Like
no one
being like God doesn't
does that
imply
tell you?
that God is all powerful. That's just a leap in logic.
Can someone be like you?
Yes.
So you're not all powerful then?
That's not the point.
Well,
Again,
that's the point.
You're just
That's
telling
the
me
point.
something that your book says. If the Bible said that
No,
2
you
plus
said
2,
you saying wait.
Randall,
You're making false
Randall,
claims here, right?
Randall. Oh God, don't get me started on false claims. Randall,
No,
if the
I'm
Bible said, hold on, if the Bible said that 2 plus 2 equals 5, would you start believing that 2 plus 2 equals 5?
the Bible never said that, so
That's
that
not what
don't-
my question is. That's not what my
Nope,
question
it doesn't
is.
make sense. Don't use that scenario. Use something that it actually says and tell me.
No. That's not the point. What I'm pointing out to you here is that you're just believing everything the book says, even if it doesn't make sense. If the Bible said that 2 plus 2 equals 5, would you start believing that 2 plus 2 equals 5?
No, it doesn't make sense. That's why the Bible never said it. Okay,
Yeah,
keep
but
going.
it also doesn't make sense that Jesus walked on water.
Well, it is possible. Anyways, you were saying something about keep
No,
going.
so this is the thing, Randall, is you're hoping that I'll just like ignore how ridiculous the Bible is because you don't want to have to accept that it's full of myth.
Nope, it's not.
Right,
Actually,
and you believe that. That's okay. And we also have both already agreed that believing something is true doesn't make it true. You remember when we agreed on that?
yeah.
Yeah, right. So believing that the Bible is accurate doesn't mean that the Bible is accurate. When the Bible says that Moses parted the Red Sea, that doesn't mean that Moses parted the Red Sea. When the Bible says that there was a boat big enough to carry 2 of every animal for 40 days and 40 nights, that doesn't mean that it actually happened. These are stories in a book, right? You understand that?
I believe it though, but
Yeah, I know you believe it, but
it's history.
again, we're going in circles here now, Randall, because
No, it's history.
we've
It's
already
history.
both. No, it's not history. This is myth. It's not even unique to the Bible, right? Like these flood myths, they're common around the globe. Like it's not even unique. These existed before the Bible was even written.
Right.
So you got to understand, man. A book saying that something happened doesn't mean that it happened. Again, the Quran says that Muhammad rode a flying horse to heaven. Does that mean that it happened?
I don't know. No, I guess not.
It's not likely, is it?
I mean, I don't know. I guess
Correct.
not.
Me either. But is it likely?
I mean, I believe in the spirit realm, so anything is possible because God exists.
Sure.
So
Well, that's the thing, man. If you're going to say that anything is possible, then you're also saying that every other religion is just as possible as Christianity. Do you understand? Like that doesn't make any sense.
But there has to be something to be true because there can't be multiple gods, right?
Of course there can be.
No, if there are multiple gods, the world would be in chaos because the gods are always fighting. But that's not
necessarily. The gods might get along and they might agree on things.
Well, the God.
You're at this point you're being limited by your own imagination.
No.
I can imagine gods that cooperate and work together.
No. But the God in the Bible clearly does not align himself with other gods. It clearly states that. So
do you understand that the Bible doesn't even say that God is the only God? Like Yahweh, the God of the Israelites.
There's no one like
hold
me.
Hold on, man.
I am. What are you talking about, bro?
Hold on, man. Hold on. So the Bible mentions a divine council, which is a reference to the ancient Israelite pantheon. Do you know what a pantheon is?
I know what that is, please. I don't actually.
Can you tell me what a pantheon is?
Oh my God, bro! Can you stop, man? Keep going.
Can you just tell me what a pantheon is?
Keep going, bro. Keep going. Don't ask me that.
Can you tell me?
You're just trying to.
You can Google it. If you Google it, it's okay.
No. Seriously, at this point, you're just trying to make fun of me by asking me definitions.
I promise you, I'm not trying to make fun of you. You're just not doing a good job of representing yourself.
If I ask you a question, you don't answer my question. Then you ask me a question back. Like I don't know what type of thing is
I
this, man.
asked Randall. I asked you a question. Do you know
Bro,
what the word pantheon means? If you don't know, that's
no,
okay.
I don't know anything. I don't know anything. I'm just blank in space. I don't know nothing.
I don't think that's true. I think you probably know lots of stuff.
Yeah, well, prove me. If you prove me, I don't know nothing, man. So keep going, keep going.
No, I haven't proved that you don't know anything yet. You could be right. Maybe Christianity is right. Maybe the Bible is all accurate. I'm just not convinced of that yet because you've not given me good reason.
Yeah,
So
but
can you tell me? Can you tell me what a pantheon is?
You don't have to be asking me definitions, bro. I'm not your teacher.
No, but for the sake of this conversation to keep going, because we're talking about Yahweh, okay, we're talking about Yahweh being part of the ancient Israelite pantheon. Do you know what the pantheon is?
God is not a pantheon, bro.
God is not a pantheon. That's correct, because that's not what the word pantheon means. Can you tell us, if you don't know what the word pantheon means, you can just admit it. It's okay. Lots of people don't know.
Bro, I know what it is, man.
Can you tell me what it is so we know we're on the same page?
Like, for example, like the Greek pantheon, all the demigods, right?
Well, and all of the actual gods as well. Yeah. So,
yeah, so that's Greek, what that means. That's why I'm looking at you like, what the hell is this, man?
Well, that's the thing, man, is you've used words previously in our conversation that you didn't know the meaning of. So that's why I'm just checking before we keep going on so that we're on the same page.
I know. I've done studies of the fallen angels and the giants, so I don't see how I would know that. But keep going. That's why I'm looking
fine,
at
man. It's okay. It's okay. Like, so in Greek mythology, there's a pantheon of gods, right? There's a whole range of gods, not just one. There's a whole variety of them.
Small g, son. Demigods.
No, not according to Hellenists. They believe that they're real.
No, I know. But I'm saying, like, they are demigods, right?
Well, there are some demigods, but there are also multiple capital G gods. Within Greek mythology, Zeus is a capital G god. So is Hera. So is Poseidon. So is Hades. Do you understand? Like, there are loads of them. There are loads of gods within the Greek pantheon. The ancient Israelites, they were also polytheists. Do you know what the word polytheism is?
No.
Okay. So if you believe in one God, that makes you a monotheist. Okay. Mono meaning one. Theist meaning believing in a theistic deity, a God, right?
Right.
So you're a monotheist because you believe in one God. A polytheist is someone who believes in many gods. The prefix poly means many. So poly, many, theist, believing in God. They believe in many gods. The ancient Israelites were polytheists, right? Yahweh was just one of many gods that they worshipped.
Not all of them. Not all of them.
Not all of them what?
Were polytheistic. No.
Oh, I'm sure that there were some who weren't, but that's the thing, is many of them were, right? Yahweh was originally the god of agriculture. So it's the god that people used to pray to, or
where is that written? Where did you get that source from? Where did you get that source from?
You can ask historians.
No, I'm asking you, where do you get the source that Yahweh is literally the god of agriculture? Where do you get that from?
Sure. I think, what's the name of the guy who wrote the book? There's one.
Oh, someone wrote the
Mark
book.
Smith. Right. There are YouTube channels run by historians who go over this as well. You can believe me, you can not believe me. It doesn't matter. Either way, the archaeological evidence that we have suggests that the Israelite people were originally, it was the god of agriculture. So if you wanted your crops to be bountiful in next season, you'd have to pray to Yahweh so that all of your plants would grow, right? You'd have to maybe sacrifice a couple of goats or something to show him how.
Where are you getting this source from? Because that's not what happened in the Bible. So I don't know where you're getting your source from.
That's fine. So the Bible, you understand that the Bible's not like the oldest book, right? You understand that there are books.
I'm asking where you getting your source from. You see, you're not answering my question. But when you ask me a question,
I did just tell you.
You said from Mark Will, something like that, right?
I think his name is Mark Smith. He's one author that comes to mind. You could also go to historian-run YouTube channels as well, like Esoterica, Religion for Breakfast. You could go to, I think, Let's Talk Religion. So, historians of religion. Right? This is not like a big secret or anything. It's also like if you go to Bible college, this is not something that's like controversial, right? Like they'll accept that in the Old Testament there is mention of like a divine council, right? So a group of gods that the Israelites used to believe in, Yahweh being one of them. Originally responsible for agriculture. Yeah.
When you say divine counsel, like, are you referring to when God spoke about that in the book of Job? Is that what you're referring to?
Exactly which reference it is that you're looking at right now, I'm not sure. That's the thing, though, is it doesn't really matter.
Well, God having divine counsel doesn't mean there are multiple gods. It just means that
you don't have to rely on the Bible only to understand this stuff, right? Like these are things that are recorded outside of the Bible. It's not just in the Bible that we don't just rely on the Bible for this stuff. The ancient Israelites were polytheists.
I know.
Okay? Over the course of time, Yahweh became responsible, or the people who believed in him anyway, wasn't just responsible for agriculture. Over time, they ended up believing that he was responsible for storms as well. And so if they look it up if you want. So I mean, they would pray to him if they were scared of, a storm. They wanted a storm to pass quicker. They said, "Please, Yahweh, please take the storm away." It's
Dude, you funny, man.
You don't have to. This is the thing: is I don't mind if you believe me, because I don't think you should just take my word for it. I think that you should double check me. Do you understand? I'm not doing like something that a Christian often does, which is something that you've done a few times now. Is they'll go, just like, trust me, the Bible says so. I'm saying, don't just trust me. Go and actually check this stuff for yourself. Do you understand? I don't want you to just believe me.
Bro, I never said trust me. Like, I'm not here.
Several times you said, trust me, man, it's in the Bible. Like, when you die,
I'm telling you,
you're gonna know.
No, you asked me why I believe it, right? I said because it's written. I'm telling you what I believe, not pushing it onto you.
Which is the same reason that a Muslim believes the Quran. They say, oh, because it's written down.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm not. Everyone's got their own perspective and beliefs, right? So I'm not here to convince anyone. But
Randall, do you accept that something being written down doesn't prove that it's true?
I do accept that. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. And do you accept that that's also the case with the Bible? Just because it's written in the Bible doesn't mean that it's actually true.
Well, again, I've read the Bible, and it does make sense to me, right? And I believe it. So that's why I tell you it does correlates with the world as we see it as it is right now.
In your opinion. But like, if a Muslim says, well, when I read the Quran, it made sense to me. Does that mean that it actually definitely makes sense?
Well, first of all, I've read the Quran, and I'll just tell you why I think they are misled. They believe that angels don't have free will, but that goes against God's nature.
Well, it doesn't really. I mean, if God's all-knowing, you don't have free will.
What?
Because you can never choose to do anything other than what he's always known you were going to do.
Let me guess. You one of those guys that think that way. Let me ask you a question.
Man, I'm telling you how I think right now.
No.
You don't have to guess. Hold on, man. Right? Listen, Randall, listen to the sound of my voice.
You got deep, bro. Jeez.
Do you believe that God is all-knowing?
Yeah, he's all-knowing.
Do you think that God has always been all-knowing?
From day one, from the get-go.
Would you say even before day one?
Before he's the beginning. Okay, so he's been all-knowing.
Right. Has he always known since even before you were born every choice that you were ever going to make?
Yes, but he doesn't control my choices.
Is it possible for you to choose to do something other than what he has always known you were going to do?
Him knowing does not mean that he's controlling my decision.
Randall,
That
it's
is
a
your
yes. Randall,
no. I know where this
it's
is
a
going.
yes. It's a yes or no question, man.
No.
Is it
I
possible?
know where this is
Is
going.
it
I'm explaining.
possible? Is it possible for you to choose to do something other than what Yahweh has always known you were going to do? Yes or no?
Bro, I know where this is going. I'm just telling you, just because someone knows the future, it doesn't mean that person is controlling your decisions. He just knows your end. That's it.
Randall, I'll ask you again. Is it possible for you to choose something other than what God has always known you were going to do?
No. But how does that control?
Okay. So that means that you don't have free will. You don't have freedom of choice.
Bro, you are deceived, man. I'm sorry, man, because you literally think that God is influencing your choices.
No, I don't think God exists.
No. But you going by that narrative, right? You believe he's influencing your choices.
No, I'm helping
told you to be on
I'm
TikTok,
helping
right?
you explore what you believe. I don't believe any of this
That's
stuff.
bullshit. No, I'm serious. That's bullshit. I'm sorry, man, because
Randall, Randall, you're not listening. I don't believe in the God that you believe in.
I understand.
You know when a kid comes to you and they say they believe in Santa, and you go, well, I mean, okay, but I don't. That's like you and me right now. Like, you believe that Yahweh is real, and I'm saying, yeah, but I don't.
Then why are you making up that scenario?
I'm showing you how it doesn't make sense. No, hold on, Randall. I'm showing you how it doesn't make sense to believe that there's an all-knowing God and that you have free will. It doesn't make sense.
No, what your scenario don't make no sense. Because
no, Randall, this is the scenario that you're telling us is real. You're telling us that God is both all-knowing and that you have free will.
Yes, you have free will because he does not.
And that doesn't make sense because you can't choose something other than what he's always known you were going to choose, which means that you're only ever restricted
because he's a God
to one choice.
Everything. He knows everything, but it doesn't mean he's controlling you. It doesn't mean he's making the choices for you.
No, I'm not saying.
Bro,
did he choose? Hold on, Randall. Did God choose to cause? In your opinion, did God choose to create this universe?
Yes.
Did he know how everything was going to pan out?
But yet he did it regardless.
Right. That's correct. Right. So God always knew everything that was going to happen, even before he created the universe. And then, instead of deciding to not make the universe, he decided to make it, which means
that's not how it operates. Do you know that God? Wait, hold on, bro. Hold on.
Randall.
Let me explain something.
My guy, my dude.
Let me explain something.
Man, hold up, dude.
God
hold on, man. Do you or do you not think that God chose to create this universe?
I just told you, yes, he chose to.
Okay. Did God know before he created this universe how everything was going to pan out?
Yes, just because he knows it does not mean.
Randall, hold on.
That's what I'm getting.
In that sense, it does not make sense to believe that God has not already decided what you're going to do, because he decided to create a universe including you, right?
Awesome,
he decided to create a universe within which he knew everything that was going to happen,
bro.
And then he chose to make it.
You are absolutely fabulous. Like your take on Christianity is very poor. I'm telling you the truth.
Well, no, this isn't even Christianity, man. Like the Bible doesn't really claim that God is all knowing. That's just something that you're saying you believe about God.
What do you mean the Bible? There are multiple evidences of God saying that he knew.
Yeah, and there's also examples of God saying that he regrets things. And he
because why?
He could go back on things.
No.
he
God, you do
apologizes
realize
for
God made us in His image, right? So when you regret something, so has God. But again, He still knows that He's gonna do that, right?
Randall,
So what do you say?
this is getting extremely silly. I have to be honest with you.
It is you getting extremely silly, not me.
I understand that you believe that, but that doesn't change the fact that what you are telling us you believe
Oh man, not Joe
does not
again.
make sense.
Sorry, man. I just saw someone on the chat. You were saying something?
Man, look, at this point, I'm honestly not sure that there's much point continuing, because I don't think that you're really acknowledging the facts of the matter as far as your logic pertains. Like, you're describing things, you're saying you believe certain things are true at the same time as other things, which just don't fit together. It's essentially, it's the equivalent of you telling me that you think 2 + 2 = 4 and that 2 + 2 = 5. It doesn't make sense to believe both things at the same time. It doesn't make sense to believe that God knows everything and always has, and that you also can choose to do something other than what He's always known you were going to do.
My question is,
those two beliefs are incompatible with one another.
so are
They
you saying,
contradict each other.
are you saying God is making you be on TikTok right now?
No, I don't believe God is real.
No. Bro, I'm going by your scenario. If you believe in God, right? Are you saying God is making you be on TikTok right now?
Well, if the God that you're saying you believe in is all-knowing, right? And they decided to create this universe, knowing exactly what was going to happen at any point in time, then yes, it's God's choice for me to be on here right now doing this.
All right, so how did He tell you to be on there?
I just explained, mate.
No.
If you think it's true,
bro.
Giraffes, thank you so much. That means a ton. I'm so appreciative. You're a legend. Remember, to be very clear, remember, I don't believe the things that you believe. We're just going off of this. Randall, listen. Remember, I don't believe the things that you believe. We're just going off of the hypothetical situation that you are saying you believe. If God always knew everything that was ever going to happen in this universe, if He created it, and then He chose to create it, He is the one who has decided for everything that has ever happened to happen.
Okay, so I'll ask you a question. How did God tell you to be on TikTok?
I just told you, mate. If He's all-knowing and He decided to make this universe,
so it's automatic.
Upon deciding to make this universe, He made me do everything that I've ever done. Same.
How did He? How do you know He made you do it? Did He tell you?
No, that's what the logic that you're putting forward dictates.
No,
Thank
that's
you,
your
Will.
logic, man.
Intergalactic of you, my friend. Thank you so much. Absolutely interstellar. So, Randall, I'm using the hypothetical scenario that you're providing me, and I'm pointing out that it doesn't make sense. It's contradictory.
For you to know what God knows, He has to tell you what He knows, so you do it. Correct?
No.
Because you have the option to do whatever you want. You can choose. You could. Oh my God, bro! You could choose right now to end this TikTok.
Yeah,
how would you?
But if that's not part. But that's the thing, Randall, is me choosing to end this live at whatever point that it ends.
I'm sorry, man. This is just foolishness at this point, man. No, I'm serious, Kai, because you cannot tell me that you believe this nonsense, man. I know for real. You don't know what He knows.
You don't have to believe it. I mean, you don't have to believe me that what you're saying doesn't make sense.
No, like, I'm saying
if a child came to you and said, I believe in Santa, and you start explaining to them why it doesn't make sense to believe in Santa, and they're just going, bro, I gotta be honest, like, you're being ridiculous right now. Santa obviously exists. Like, it's crazy for you to say that Santa doesn't exist. That doesn't mean that they're right. Do you understand? Like, what you're saying just doesn't make sense, mate.
Man, indeed, humans have become something else, man. Like, how did we get here, bro? You know what I mean? I asked you a question. You don't know what God knows, but yet He never told you what He knows. But still, you're doing what He knows that you're gonna do. How does that even correlate? You
You
don't
got
know
it. No,
what He knows.
you got it backwards. So first of all, you just
I got it
gave me three premises, two of which are incompatible, and one of which doesn't even. It's a non sequitur from the first two. Randall, if we're stuck on this one, we might just have to call it, mate. And we'll try. We can try another time if you want.
Yeah, it's all right, man. You know, I'm just shocked that, you know. Anyways, the Bible said it that this will happen, so nothing is a shocker. Nothing is new under the sun, you know.
Yeah, I mean, the Bible says all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, if you don't know what God knows, how is He influencing your choices? Makes no sense. Why would a
Because
God?
again, within your hypothetical scenario, God has always known everything that was ever going to happen before He created the universe. He didn't have to create the universe. He then chose to create the universe, thus triggering everything.
That's not how He operates. You got to understand His nature. Because
so he's not all knowing.
wait, I didn't say that. I said because He knows it all. That doesn't mean He won't create. Regardless, He always makes a solution for all the problems. He created Lucifer to be perfect, to be this most beautiful angel. He knew that Lucifer would deviate from Him, but He still allowed.
So Lucifer is God's fault as well, then.
It's not God's fault. Like,
So
this is what I'm
hold
saying.
on,
No accountability.
Randall.
There's no accountability.
If God knew, did God have to create Lucifer?
He's a creator, so He creates whatever He wants to create.
Randall, did God have to create Lucifer?
I guess not. You know.
Right. Yet He chose to, even though He knew that he would end up rebelling against Him.
Because that's His nature. It doesn't matter. Just like
it does matter. I mean, if Randall, do you think it's fair? Right.
Yes, it's very fair.
If I,
whatever you're gonna say is fair. I know what you're gonna say.
I gotta go, man. It's too silly at this point.
Hey, keep going, man.
Pardon?
Keep going. You were talking about, is it fair? What's not fair?
No, I'm actually going because it's too ridiculous at this point. But I wish you all the best. I hope to talk to you another time.
Yeah, sure, definitely, man, definitely. For all the people in the comments, man, y'all just trashing me. That's fine, man. Y'all don't see the light. That's all I'm gonna say. You in darkness.
Peace. God bless, man. Take care. Okie doke. To be very clear, I remain unconvinced of why I should be afraid of hell. I don't think it's real. I've not yet been presented with any reason to fear it. I've had people say that hell's going to be fine anyway. You know, like depending on the religion believed by the person who's come up. I've had all sorts of things like, well, don't worry. Even if you're an atheist, there's a certain kind of heaven for you, which is really nice. Okay, cool. Nothing to be afraid of then. Awesome. I've had people come up and say, oh, hell doesn't exist. Only heaven exists. So you might just get nothingness. So, okay, cool. Great. Well, nothing to fear then, right? It'll be just like it was before I was born. And then we've had people who've said, no, hell is real and you should be afraid, but then haven't given me any good reason to believe it. They've just said, well, I believe it, which is not a good reason for me to believe it. Someone else believing something is not good reason for me to believe something. That's not how it works. So yeah, I'll call it for today. I got to go. It's like 1:20 in the morning where I am. To all 320 of you in here right now, thank you so much for your time and attention. It means a ton to me. It's just very cool of you, I think. If you're not already following, please follow. I try to go live as often as possible. We've cracked 300 team members. So all 300 of you, thank you so much. Like, welcome aboard. It's very, very cool to have you. Iceland time 1 a.m. Banger. I quite like that. Yeah, so to all of you in here right now, if you're not already following, please follow. I really do try to go live as often as possible. Thank you, Giraffes. Thank you so much. Thank you for everyone who's been double tapping. We've almost cracked 75K. You know, it's amazing. Thank you for all the shares. 133 shares is insane. It's ridiculous. To anyone who's been gifting, to our new subscribers, thank you so much. That's right. Watch out for sorcerers. Absolutely. To any new subscribers, thank you so much. It's so supportive of you. You know, I can hardly believe it. I really like. It's very humbling to me to have so many people enjoy this so much that they'll get on board like that. I'm so grateful. If you do want to support me in coming on more often, the best way you can do that is through PayPal. I expect nothing. To be very clear, I expect nothing, but I really am extremely grateful for anything. It makes a big difference in the big picture. I get 40% of donations through TikTok, but I get 100% of what you might donate through PayPal. Do with that what you will. I repeat, I expect nothing. For your time and attention, I'm extremely grateful. You know, what it was like before you were born, as far as we can determine, given the actual evidence we have in reality, is that's what you will return to when your body dies. Your brain is going to fade back out again. It'll be like going to sleep and not having any dreams. It'll be like it was before your nervous system started generating any consciousness whatsoever. Which means your time is extremely valuable. This time that you have here experiencing whatever this is all you know you're going to have. It's all you know you're going to have. May you possibly have something else after? Maybe. Is the evidence in support of that being the case any good? No, it's not. It's terrible. But you know you're experiencing something right here, right now. And you shared some of it with me. And I'm very thankful. You know, thank you so much. I really do hope that you enjoy the rest of your day, your night, your week, your month, your year, your decade, your century, your millennia, however long it is that you end up being here for, experiencing whatever this is. I hope that you soak it up. Treat it like it's all you're going to get. Be brave. Learn new things. Learn to stand up for yourself. Travel. Try new foods. You know, experiment with your wardrobe. Paint your nails. Just do whatever, you know, just explore, experience things now while you still can. Bruce, can we please get some extra special love in the chat from Bruce? Thank you so much, man. That donation is unbelievably generous. It means a ton. Can we get some, what can we get in the chat? Can we get some, thank you so much, Mum. Can we get some, what's a good emoji? Can we get some cowboy smiley emojis in the chat for Bruce? Very cool of you, mate. I'm extremely grateful. That's not the first time you've donated either. You know, that's amazing to me. There we go. Cowboy hats in the chat. That's all for you, Brucey. That's all you, Brucey. Look at them coming. Yeehaw! They're so cute. Look at them. They're having a great time. Good on you, Bruce. Yeah, just live it up. Experience things, please. And don't just believe anything that anyone tells you. Please, please, please. Just, you know, be at least a little skeptical. Jesus. I'll give you 10 seconds. Actually, you know what? We're going to crack. I wonder if we could crack 75K. When we hit 75K, I'll leave. We'll see how long we can, see how quickly we can do it. All right. We're going for 75K. Tap like crazy. I'm counting from now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good idea, Zed. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Remember, I said 85. We'll see how long it takes to get to 85. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Oh, sorry, I meant to say 85. 20. There you go. Look at 20 seconds to get 5K likes. That's amazing. That's genuinely impressive. That's an impressive rate of taps. Thank you so much, everyone. Oh, my love.